Good evening, model railroaders, and welcome back to the Second Section podcast, where it's regular folks talking about model railroading. I'm your host, Andy Dorsch, and joining me tonight on this special Saturday show is my co-host, Mike Ostertag. Mike, did you break the shovel today?
I broke the shovel, the snowblower, the neighbor's snowblower. Yeah, my snowblower is leaking some kind of purpley liquid and then something that looks like oil, but it's 29 years old and it's a Murray, so I should get some credit for a Murray still running after 29 years.
Murray,
yeah, green Murray snowblower.
It's marking its territory.
What's that?
Marking its territory.
Sure, I wish it would mark a little less. It was like a snail trail all the way up and down the driveway today. It was crazy. Yeah, we got about almost like right around 13 inches, 14 inches at my house, something like that.
Yeah, it was substantial amount of snow. It took me 3 hours to clear everything out. So
yeah, I did two of them, and it took me a good 3 hours to do two of them. So yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah. So we have a special show going on tonight. Joining us, basically down the street from you, Mike, is Luke Lemmens.
Yeah.
Luke, welcome back to the Second Section podcast. And let us know what's up in your world.
Not much.
Not much.
Little intro. Do we need to do a little intro and stuff?
Yeah, why don't we do a little intro? There's a few new subscribers since the last time you were on the show. Okay. Maybe just give us a brief background of your layout, or actually maybe when you started it all, and then the layout tonight, and I can pull up the track plan too if you want, and then
pull a track plan up so people can see.
Yeah, and then we'll go from there.
Luke Lemmens, for those that don't know me, born and raised from Green Bay.
Okay.
After high school, I was going to get a job with the railroad, but my mother said to go through some type of college schooling first. So I went to tech school, got an associate degree in industrial model building. Decided not to use that for the career, and I had some friends that worked for the railroad and got sucked into a railroad career instead. So this summer will be 27 years. Yeah, we were one of them. So the tech school knowledge didn't go to complete waste. I just didn't want to model all day and then come home and model. So now I play with trains all day and come home and play with trains. So
that worked out really good for you.
You worked for the railroad then, Luke. Is that right?
Yeah, I worked for the railroad, conductor.
Okay.
Mike has been my work wife for several years. So
work wife. That's a nice.
We're not allowed to do that anymore.
Yeah, it's just better to not work together. So
yeah,
that's probably smart. Yeah. So working for the railroad and then what?
So I'm kind of an oddity. There's a lot of modelers, and then there's modelers that work for the railroad, and then there's modelers that work for the railroad and actually run on the line that you model. So I'm like a real oddity on this, I think. Not many people, if they're going to model something, they're going to model something completely different than what you're used to seeing every day at work. For me, it was really handy, though, because I got a lot of inside information and photos and stuff like that. Tag will attest to that, too.
I have a lot of stories.
Yes.
Yeah. So you worked, so you must have joined the railroad when it was the Wisconsin Central then, right?
Yeah, Wisconsin Central, hired out in 97.
Okay.
97. But being out of Green Bay, I didn't get to see what's now the Nina sub, the Fond du Lac to Stevens Point, which is what I model. But out of Green Bay, I did have a relief job that took other guys' weekends that went down to Fond du Lac and then went up to Point. So throughout my work week, I did get to see the entire, which is now the Nina sub, which was the second sub.
Yeah. So Luke's gonna be kicking off our, I guess next few dozen shows dedicated to prototypical model railroading, and you have an HO scale layout there. Yep. Which is essentially modeled after the second sub on the Soo Line, correct?
Fond du Lac to Stevens Point, to start of CTC to the end of CTC. The entire 90 miles of it.
So you modeled the entire 90 miles.
Pretty, there's a few miles of swamp cut out, but yeah, I wanted where the crews got on and where the crews got off. I wanted like the division point.
Yeah. Yeah. And before we pull up the track plan, I do want to dive in. So why did you choose that line? So you were out of Green Bay, and had all that exposure. What made you choose the second
Soo Line models as a kid, and I liked I liked the red and white Art Deco-ness of it.
Sure.
An appealing paint scheme. I had F units. I had Candy Apple SD60Ms. I liked the F units won out. I liked the more class that they had, the stylization of the F units. So that's why I stayed to the late 70s where the F units are still hanging out. The ultimate goal was like Milwaukee all the way to like Sault Ste. Marie was the whole plan. I wanted to go, the top deck was supposed to be up the Shawano sub and across from Argonne across to like Trout Lake. That was the original plan.
Sure.
But when I started building a layout and traffic patterns and flow of traffic and staging or space availability, it made more sense to go to Stevens Point instead of up the Shawano sub, up to Shawano and Argonne and Gladstone.
Okay.
I had family that was in lower Michigan, so we'd always travel up through like Gladstone every year. And I just kind of liked the scene of the area.
Yeah, right.
But things just kind of got pared down to Stevens Point to Fond du Lac, and that's how I kind of honed in on that.
So the traffic was one of the big, I guess, discerning factors then?
Yeah, it was. This line is the main Chicago to the Twin Cities line, but you also got, it's kind of a funnel. Past Point, you got the line towards the Duluth and Ashland. Where I model, you have up towards Shawano or towards Manitowoc. So everything kind of really gets funneled down, and at Neenah and then down to Fond du Lac is the main funnel that shoots everything to Chicago.
So
that's why
you get a lot of diversity then in the traffic and all that.
Yeah. And everything kind of just pumps down into the one central location of Fond du Lac, and then they block everything up for Chicago-bound traffic. So,
that's cool. So, how big is the layout? And I'll bring up the track plan here.
28 feet by 41 feet, and it's kind of a T shape. They got the workbench or the workshop kind of cuts into a little bit, and then the front porch sets in on the left. The front porch sets in on the left side. You got about a 4-foot inset, and then the workshop is off on the right side.
Okay, let me see if I can make that a little bigger.
Yeah.
So this is if we were looking at it top down, right?
Yes.
This is where your camera's set up here on the lower level, right?
Yeah. I wanted something. My Fond du Lac is more of a visible fiddle yard. Everything is all switched. There's a north and a south half of the yard. Everything is all built in the south half where the one guy is mocked up standing there. And then I'll bring it around reverse loop, and I'll stuff all my westbound trains into that chunk of the yard. So everything is all pre-staged. It's all, everything is billed for a Chicago-bound destination.
Okay.
Those Chicago-bound destinations actually have a corresponding westbound traffic pattern. So I'll build trains up, but I'm actually flipping them to go the other direction. And then I'm at Stevens Point, everything goes up as a reverse loop staging up there too. So what goes up as a 401 comes back as a 402 the next session. So everything pre-stages itself on the layout. So
then this is the Stevens Point's the upper level deck, terminus, right?
Yep.
So
same thing in the workshop. So you come out of the very left, the crew lounge area, come into the workshop, grab your train, go around the layout, end up back in the workshop again, and out in the crew lounge, out you go.
Yeah, something like this, right? Yeah. All the way around.
So like the bottom deck, the lower level is more of your urban towns.
Yeah,
like
there's a lot of the bigger towns on there.
Yeah, Fond du Lac, Oshkosh, Neenah, stuff like that. And then the upper deck, the top deck is more rural. It's more of your smaller towns between there. Yeah.
between there and Stevens Point.
Yeah, with the big one being Wapaka. That between Wapaka and Waiawega are the two. The Wapaka and Waiawega Isle is actually pretty busy during an operating session.
I wanted something where you felt like you went somewhere and you had some sense of accomplishment once you got there. Coming from Point down to Fond du Lac, coming into Van Dyne when you called the yard, I wanted your guts to kind of churn, to kind of go, ooh, this is a big yard. I don't know where I'm going. I wanted the intimidation factor of that, which I think I accomplished. I mean, there's a lot of people that.
There's plenty of people terrified to switch Fond du Lac.
Yeah, they're running right now in the Fond du Lac Yardmasters that a lot of people are terrified of the job. So
yeah, so that's a good little segue into tonight's I guess show that we're gonna go into. Is so right now Luke is having, we'll call it a mini operating session, and we're gonna be checking in. We have cameras staged around the layout, so we can bring up, for example, this is the Gills landing cam. You may or may not have remembered a couple of fellas doing some work from there, but we'll be watching trains as they come through here. And then Luke also is going to be taking us on the road and around the layout. So we're going to get kind of like a live impromptu I guess layout tour, but one of the things that we're going to dive into is we're going to look at how he took that prototypical influence and squeezed it into the layout, because this is, in my opinion, Luke is probably one of the masters of being able to essentially take a scene or take a little bit of a track plan and then be able to put it in the space that you have. So I think what we'll do is we'll also ask that the section crew come back and ask questions at that time, throughout the whole show, I should say, and then we'll go from there. So so how long have you been building the layout, Luke?
I started in bought the house in January '98, and shortly right after that is when we started building. Moved a couple walls around and moved a hot water heater and a few other things. But shortly after that, it's just been started pretty much early '98. Yeah,
and that's so it's '98. Good golly, that's what 25 years.
All of it. 26 years on the rail, 27 years coming up in summer. So yeah, we're 26 years we've been doing this.
Yeah, fantastic. And it's all DCC and all that good stuff. Yep. And then how many trains do you get through in like a real operating session? So maybe just give us a little bit of a walkthrough of what that looks like.
There's half a dozen, 5. You want to say something, Tay?
Nope.
There's half a dozen or so counterpart trains that go back and forth. A lot of bridge traffic that goes east-west. Yeah. There's 3 big locals. There's a local based out of Oshkosh, local based out of Wapaka, one out of Neenah. There's way freights that work between the midpoint of Neenah and Fond du Lac and back to pick up the way work. There's one on the top deck that does up towards Point and back. Shawano turn traffic, Manitowoc traffic, Menasha traffic. There's a lot of Neenah's a little beehive in itself with being the funnel, basically. Yeah. Neenah has 2 different branch lines that come off different directions other than the main line. So you have 4 different directions to deal with at Neenah. Typical. Yeah,
geez, that's right. That's kind of the hot spot on the layout, aside from the Fond du Lac job that everyone's like, oh God, don't put me there. But Neenah's Fond du Lac
is very one-dimensional. You just got to switch and just keep pumping the stuff through. Neenah,
but it's like that in real life though too.
Yeah,
it's exactly emulated, almost identical to the way it is in real life. I mean, it's always been a
I think I captured
bottleneck
the ratio pretty good of traffic to available space to use. The 10 pounds of poo in a 5-pound bag kind of scenario.
Yeah. So let's I'm going to bring the track plan back up here and let's just dissect this a little bit. So I'll zoom in on Nina here, if I can.
It's the west, yeah. You're looking up where the
Yeah.
little is. Yep.
Yeah. So you have Nina coming in. You have traffic from
Yep.
north and south,
North,
right?
south, east, west, but yeah, it's the north,
East,
south.
west. Yeah. East, west.
You have the Y that goes off towards Manitowoc up towards the top that circles back around to more staging. If you scroll left a little bit, up under the Helix, there's another reverse loop for the Shawano substaging. So you have the main line, and then you got those two branches that all kind of come in
Right.
with the Nina yard. Plus, you have the west yard where the guy is switching there with all the industries on that end.
And you got two jobs that go down to Manitowoc sub. You have two jobs that go there, right?
Yeah, Menasha traffic and Manitowoc traffic. So you have two that go that way, and there's two that come off the Shawano sub, the Gladstone traffic, and then a Shawano local.
Yeah, so it's kind of the hot spot on the layout. Basically, is everything kind of comes through Nina. Now, is there any jobs that originate out from Nina?
Well, the Shawano turn all the Manitowoc and the Menasha traffic. There's the way freight that goes down to Fond du Lac and back up. Starts. Yeah. So you have your own.
What about 23?
That starts at a point and down.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah.
But that goes down to Nina and turns and comes back up.
Yeah.
So that'll run the whole top deck doing all the way work, or the industry is not Wapak and Wyoming on the top deck. So that's that could become a monster in itself on that one.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that was one of the jobs that I got saddled with when I came over was 23.
Yeah.
It can that could be a really fun job if you don't have a whole lot of opposition and you can just get out there and do your thing.
Yeah.
But if you're sitting in sidings, kind of bouncing from siding to siding and have to do the work in between, that can be a long evening.
Yeah.
Depending on who the dispatcher is, I'm just saying.
And traffic out of Nina. They'll give you the short work stuff, but they can also pump extra Stevens Point traffic out there too. So depends how big you get to be.
Yeah, it's certainly a fun layout to run. That's for sure. I've been fortunate to operate it a handful of times, and it is really a lot of fun. It runs very well. So basically that's going to be a fun little, sidetrack. So you have, almost a dozen jobs that you run during a session. You have a dispatcher.
There's my big three. I have a dispatcher, Fond du Lac as a yard master, and then Nina as a yard master.
Yep.
That does the switching.
And do you get involved in the operating, or what do you do when everyone gets rolling?
I try not to. My ultimate goal is to not, just to be able to rail fan the layout.
Okay.
Ideally, situations don't get up to my level when people are running the layout is my ultimate goal. I don't. Most other operators like to be real involved with stuff. I guess I like to be a hands-off superintendent.
He's good at doing that.
What did Ed, our train master, used to say? I don't care what you guys do as long as the bread is warm in the morning. Just get this
right.
Right.
Yeah. So Bill Kenkel does have a question since we're talking about the operators. How many operators does it take to run your layout?
9 is nice. You got your big 3 and then rotating road pool of about 6.
Yeah.
Works good. 12 is even better. There's a lot. The Fond du Lac Roundhouse in itself, you can have a hostler that can be busy almost the entire night. Just
really?
Hour situations. Ideally, I'd like to have a workshop trade master to help with the endpoint yards. The Fond du Lac yard master can do the switching and can kind of guide people in and out and can kind of babysit a little bit at point. But if they're bombarded, it's just nice to take that work off of them. The crew calling, and nobody wants to come here to be crew caller, but there's other assignments that can be done over, and then the extra eastbound, westbound traffic that you can pump across the layout. I mean, it's 6 for a road pool is functional. 8, 10. I had, was it 18, 20 some here one night?
I was going to say we did 18 that one night.
Yeah, and nobody was sitting in the crew lounge. Everybody was busy.
Yeah.
But it was really warm down there.
Yeah.
So Paul Scott August question: do you ever work with pairs, engineer conductor on the same job?
If somebody is newer, or if, like at 22, 23, I like that point, the local that does the top work, top deck stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I like to pair people up on that one. That one can be a lot to digest with the cards and stuff like that.
Sure.
Some of the industry work, some of those like double up sometimes, but a lot of the times it's just single crew out there.
Yeah. So speaking of the car cards, that's how you do your operations, right?
Yeah.
Do you have an example of a pack that we can just look at real quick?
5 is the next train to run.
No, remember where you put that.
What's that?
Now remember where you grabbed that from.
I'll put it back. Don't worry.
Okay.
So you turn at Bottleneck, end at Stevens Point, set up and pick up at Nina. Yeah, set up and pick up at Nina on that one. My engines have cards for the yellow card and blue card for the engines. And then car cards are I made them myself.
Yeah.
I wanted to experiment with the car cards. So I got some manila envelopes and I chopped off 4 inches by like 1.5 inches and just taped them together to try to experiment with them.
Yeah.
And the experiment worked so good, I just never went to anything else. Over the years, I refined it. I got a typewriter. I used to do stickers and labels and put the things on there. Now I just have a typewriter where I just type the reporting marks of the car on there. And then I just do everything in pencil.
There you go.
Easier to change things. If I have an issue with how things are billed, I'll just make a new car card or just use an eraser and just clean the waybill up.
Yeah. So it's pretty basic stuff then, and you got your little ring there and away you go.
I don't know where Model Railroad or somebody had an issue with the rings. So everything's got a hole punch in it. It's just nice for clumsy operators that drop their car cards. Everything's all pretty again.
Yep.
So it's really hard to screw them up. Let me know when somebody comes over to Bill's Landing. I can switch cameras too. Mike's out there, so.
Don't we just shoot you a text message?
No. So, but that's. I'd like to keep information at a minimal. It's just less to confuse people.
Right.
Amherst Co-op. I mean, that's it. You don't need to know where it came from. You don't need to know all the other gobbledygook of it. And a lot of the stuff is just Stevens Point. It doesn't matter where it goes beyond Stevens Point. You don't really care where it goes beyond Stevens Point. You're just trying to get it east-west across the system.
So just to kind of tie into Windsor 351's comment here. So your system for logging and sorting cars is basically a hand created car card set.
Yes.
And then just basically if you have to pull them, you got little I guess containers or whatever for them out on the layout. So if you drop one off, pull one in, just like a normal car card.
Yeah.
Type setup.
Most road crews really don't have to touch much of anything. It's just
Sure.
the industry job. If it doesn't say where it's at, pull it.
Yeah.
Same with like a road train. If you have work at Nina, if you're going to Point and it doesn't say Point, 99% of the time it sets out at Nina, and the Nina guy will figure out where it goes from there.
Yeah.
You care that it's not a point.
Right. So let us know when we get a train rolling across, but we did have a couple more questions.
Gills Land and Camel answer. There was supposed to be one coming here.
Yeah, we got the Gills cam, and once we see one here, I'll pipe down. But Bob Menzies asks, so what's the review process that takes place at the end of an op session?
Everything balances out pretty good. To review, I don't really touch a lot between sessions. There we go.
Here we go.
That should be that.
That's 6.
6. That's 6 coming across. He's at a point. She should be a straight shot down to Nina there.
So then that one came up that's coming out from staging up in Stevens Point on the top deck and is headed towards Fond du Lac.
Yep. We'll see him on the bottom deck here in a little after he gets down that far, but he should be a straight shot down.
Yeah, so this is pretty cool scene that you have here. So where are we at where that train's going over right now? So
Gill's Landing, that's the Wolf River.
Okay, so that's the Wolf River, and then we have the bridge scene over the top of that.
Yep.
So I mean that I've fished the Wolf River a handful of times. That pretty much looks exactly like it. How did you get the pictures for the backdrop?
The backdrop, that's actual drone footage. Somebody made the point that nothing's probably changed in 40 years. So we went in
and it hasn't.
Thanks to Charles Nelson. If you way off where the river kind of branches, kind of peel off to the left, there's there's a C&W. Look at that on the bottom deck.
So it's not just Soo Line then on your railroad.
There's like a little bar and grill. It's the closest place you can get there by land in a boat launch off to the left. So we flew the drone in there and ended up crashing the drone and having to flag another boater down to see if he could go get it because it landed just to the power poles on the right, just behind the bridge. There's a little house there. It hit their pontoon boat and luckily landed in the boat and broke. So we flagged another boater down to go get it and bring it back. So we killed the drone in the process, but we did get a good image of it. So
yeah. So then a lot of people are interested in the operation. So Central Florida Model Railroaders Club says, do you run track warrants or what do you do for train control?
The main line is CTC, so it's all signals. We can switch back to the kid here. So with the tech schooling that I did, learned a lot of mold making and all that kind of stuff. The whole premise of the industrial model building was to be able to build something out of nothing. If somebody gives you a bar napkin with a sketch on it, you should be able to make anything. So with the casting and the mold making and all the processes I learned from that, and I started when I built the layout, I started pricing out signal heads, and it was with like Tomar or NJ. I was up to like $3,000 in signals, and me being cheap, I'm like, there's got to be a better way. So I ended up just making some early molds, and I made castings for the head, the finial, the base, the platform, and then the brass for the rest of the parts. I got it down to 47 cents worth of brass, and the LED was about $1. So under $2.
Wow,
Yeah.
That's pretty
crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. So in the meantime, I made enough for me, a friend's layout, and I sold them at the hobby shop, and I made enough. I made enough signals to last me for quite a while. But in the process of that, getting the insider's point of view, I could see signals that nobody else could see. Who's calling now? The phone's right next to where the camera's at.
Yeah.
So I could actually make signals based on the prototype. I mean, in Oshkosh, there's one that's a 2-headed light that's got a blue indication on it. That's got weird placement. So with that, I could build my own. There's a lot of masts that had single mast with heads on each direction on one head, on one mast. Just some interesting ones. So
yeah. So then just did you just go out and to get the inspiration, or did you take photos? Did you get drawings for those?
There's photos. Tag will attest to the photos. I got a whole book of.
Okay, I have to stop you right there. Okay, here's
All
a
right.
story. When Luke and I were on this relief job together, We're on our way to Stevens Point, and on the way back, when we went to Stevens Point, it was kind of dark out.
Yeah.
Right. So we get out to Stevens Point, we run around our train, we set out the train, we get our new train, and we're coming back. On the way back, Luke's like, "Hey, slow down. It's 49-mile-an-hour track. Slow down." I'm like, for what? He's like, "I want to get pictures of the telephone poles." I'm like, "What?" "Yeah, all the poles are different. So I want to get pictures of the poles. Slow down so I can get shots of the poles. They're going by too fast." I'm like, "What?" And then, if I'm lying, I'm dying. The next trip, okay, we can go faster here. I've got all of these. I need this set of poles between this mile post and this mile post. We need to slow down through here so I can get these poles.
This is in the pre-digital era where I had like rolls of like 30-stick exposure, where it's like, you know, you go along. So I was trying to get pictures of any distinct, you know, the mile markers that are on the poles, what the poles look like, station one mile signs, where the whistle posts, all the track line details that were all out there. So when you've got a 36 exposure, it's like, oh, that's neat. Click, 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 click. We're on one roll, shove another roll in, click, 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 click. And I'd go through like 3 rolls of film, and then I'd go get a process, and it's like, I missed half the telephone poles because he's going too fast.
I was doing track speed. So I think we did find a happy speed there. I think right around 30 mile an hour,
well,
30.
That was also, you know, we would only get daylight coming back from Point if we were really late. And it's like, you just gotta get home, but it's like, I want to kind of get some pictures too.
Right. And to Luke's credit though, we did find some really weird, and it sounds weird to talk about telephone poles or line poles along the railroad, because that's something that's kind of taken for granted. But what Luke and I found is that there was a lot of diversity with going from like 2-arm to 3-arm, and then in the middle of nowhere there's a 5-arm for no reason whatsoever, and there's like
10, 6, 10 for insulators.
10, and then there's 6, and then there's 10, and then there's
the biggest thing I noticed is the cross arms alternate on the poles. So one pole's east, one pole's west. They'll alternate on the sides of the pole.
Do that the whole trip.
So you know,
every pole is opposite.
So maybe it's a good time to maybe bump out from the bench, and let's go take a look at it layout side and kind of see what you're talking about. So Luke's gonna fire up the mobile cam here, maybe.
Yeah, we're gonna try that again.
We'll give it a whirl, twist, and twirl, because I have like 6 questions that I want to ask in the meanwhile, because one, it's for my own selfish purposes, but because you're building this giant library of information and data. Like, how did you keep it all organized?
I have binders and pictures. A lot of the stuff I actually saved in photo albums in the computer. I labeled all the things by milepost so I could get them chronologically ordered. I'm trying to get into the studio again.
Yeah.
No, it's not letting me. But yeah, there's a lot of binders that I've used. Oh, Owen says there's another one coming across Gill's Lane.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, while we're having Luke search for the bits and bytes here, so let me pull up another one coming across. So
this sure beats a thunderstorm.
Yeah, it does.
The storm was yesterday, so we should be good.
Storm was yesterday.
That is true.
So I'm gonna mute this mic. Here we go. We got one coming. Looks like it's headed towards Wyawega, if I'm not mistaken. Coming back up.
Okay, yeah, we got. Okay.
Oh yeah, yep. Hey, look at that. Luke's on the move.
I'm on the move. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm gonna keep you off stage here while we get you set up, but we'll watch this train roll by. But I think what we want to do is just kind of take a look at. So there's a couple questions coming in, and one from Otter Creek and Rio Grande, which was, what's the distance from the backdrop to the fascia, like at Gill's Landing?
Okay. We gotta be going live here to our mobile. The backdrop changes. There is no set depth or in the mobile cam.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
So I'll bring you up on them.
So top deck and bottom deck. Let's go over by Gill's Landing.
Okay.
Follow that train, wherever that train ended up here. There we go. He's going to come over Gill's Landing. So a lot of the scenes, like Fremont is 12, 11 inches.
Yeah, they're not very deep, right?
No. Bottom deck is 20, 22, 24. A lot of the stuff was I built the bottom deck, and to where my eyes hit is how far I brought the top deck out. That's my math formula.
That's a good formula.
So if I kind of standing at eye level, if I can still see a little bit of backdrop, that's how far I brought it. If I needed to see backdrop, I kept it shallower. And that was basically how I set top deck height or depth.
That's a really good idea.
Oh, yeah.
But there's height changes. So modeling the prototype, I model any curve, I try to capture the curve. Any hill change or elevation change, I change that. So leaving point, you leave Stevens Point on the top deck and you come up to Custer. Taking a test of this, the driveway at County Concrete or Mangles Gravel Pit at Custer is the high point.
Yes.
From there, she's down all the way to Gill's Landing. It does go down, but I stretch it over so long, you don't really feel it as much.
Sure.
But leaving Gill's Landing, climbing up out of Fremont, that's a climb, and that'll make you squat all the way down, and then coming back up into like Antone, there's a hump in the middle of the siding, so when you're trying to get in, and then from Dale down into Nina,
so let's take a look and see if we can find an example of these power poles that you're talking about. Hey, Owen. Because I think this is a really good.
So you have a set for the Northwestern and a set for the Soo Line.
Yeah.
But this one, we'll zoom real good, are we? But the pole is on the right, the cross arms are on the left. The cross arms are on the right, the pole's on the left. So the cross arms are on the right, cross arms are on the left, cross arms are on the right, cross arms are on the left.
Is it the same way on the Northwestern, Luke?
Yeah. Same thing. That's like a power pole. That's a power pole standard to have the cross arms. So if anything, if you lose an arm, you're not going to string line everything down.
Yeah, right.
Oh, I need to go. Actually, can we flip horizontal? Is that?
Yeah, that's better there. Yep.
There we go. Does that help me zoom it all on a pole?
Yeah. Okay. So just here, hold her steady for just a bit, so we can kind of get so we can see here the pole set up here with the arm braces underneath the big arm, and
but the pole is actually it's got cross arms that bolt to the pole.
Right.
A lot of these are just cheap Atlas or Tyco or whatever poles. Helgen make a nicer one that had like 2 cross arms. For years, I went to every train show I went. I grabbed like any little bag of like power poles. Owen would make fun of me at every train show I went to that had you're buying more telephone poles.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Mike Pulter, I got a box from him. He got a collection. It was a shoebox, jammed, packed, full of any brand of telephone pole you could think of.
Oh, so Ralph's got Eagle Eye Ralph here's got a question. He says, I see open rafters. Is there a problem with dust on the layout, or are you pretty good?
It's better now that the kids are grown up and not running around upstairs. Yeah, there is.
Sure.
And and it's a lot of hardwood floor upstairs. So I do get, but it's all plywood construction, so it's not like it's board. So I mean, there's a little bit. And I got the shop down here. I get a little dust, but it's not horrible. I mean, I've had a lot worse.
Yeah. So this was one of the scenes that was on the thumbnail for the video this evening. And so we're looking at Van Dyne, right? This is Van Dyne, Wisconsin.
Van Dyne, yeah. A lot of stuff is Van Dyne was probably a little bit of a credit of I started building the layout with a plan, and I didn't have a lot of research done in Oshkosh yet. So I kind of went sprawling on the first few miles. So Van Dyne really a lot of nothing.
Okay.
There's an overpass in a feed mill, and there was a siding. The siding's not used for meeting, but I made it like my typical siding length. Then once I realized I don't really use it, it just made it for a really long, stretched out scene. But there's things like there's the blob in the siding between Highway 175 and Viaduct Road.
Yep.
I wanted to get the blob in. To get the blob in, you kind of have to space them out. After the Viaduct Road, there is a substantial amount of siding north of or west of Viaduct Road. The railroad went from an east-west to north-south, so that matters with me constantly. But yeah, there was things like that, and then there was a little creek that was in there. And by the by the little creek, there was a set of intermediates on the northwestern. So you got to model a little creek. So what of that stuff can you emit? And I came up with nothing. You got to have the little. You got to have Viaduct Road. You got to have the blob. You got to have 175. So
Illinois Midland Railroad's asking, what's the purpose of that little pocket track then in Van Dyne?
That's a good question.
Everybody asks me that. So there was a depot. The depot from like the 1900s was here.
Yep.
Viaduct Road was the main road. And there was a co-op on Viaduct Road that was served by the siding. That got I don't know what the disposition of it was or how it got destroyed or when, but that was long gone. The depot was long gone. But it blobbed around the siding, and there was this other spur. This spur should hold like 12 cars. I don't have enough for that. I mean, it's a little fun, but it was. So
you had to make a bit of a concession then.
Yeah, there was a lot of concessions with that kind of stuff, and it's like, we got the Northwestern coming, so we'll set you guys up.
Okay. So we're gonna get set up for the Northwestern here, but so this is just interesting.
Oh,
so,
we just missed the semaphore dropping.
Oh, son of a bee sting! That would have been cool. But let's go back here. So this scene's kind of interesting, for a couple of reasons. But the fields that you have here, in the foreground.
Oh, yeah.
That's an interesting, different type of, I guess, medium that you use there to do that.
We got one in Amherst on the top deck. We'll get that
one.
Oh
yeah, we got hot train action here.
We got hot train action.
We got hot train action all over the place tonight. Yeah.
Okay, so the story on the fields. When my in-laws moved out of the house, there was stuff up in the rafters. Their very first couch that they ever bought. You bought the couch, and then you picked up the furniture to go on the couch. This was the remnant left over that was still up in the rafters from their very first couch that they ever owned. So we're still a roll. We still got a roll of it. So I got a roll of this stuff up in the. That was up in their rafters. But it's field. I mean, it's field there.
Right.
I look at it as stage props. As long as you go past it and from halfway back in the auditorium, you go, oh yeah, that's a field.
Right.
That's all I'm trying to gain.
So that's a really.
I'm not trying to model.
Go ahead, Luke. I'm sorry.
I'm not trying to model every plant itself, but it's got a really neat burlappy.
Yeah, it's got an interesting texture that simulates like a a field that's growing. So
As long as we're talking fields, let's do this one too.
yeah, that was the one I wanted you to bring up. That one looks really good.
The corduroy jeans.
Yeah, so that's corduroy pants.
Do you take those right off Mike?
Do you want? We can-
When you see that stuff, when you see the stuff up close, honestly, if you're not really paying attention to the material itself, the way he's got a lot of that oriented is
Yeah.
Here, a corduroy
it-
pants. I got a whole leg
yeah,
on.
you would swear to God it was some kind of commercial medium that he's got going on. And in all reality, it's just. Have you ever measured to see what the actual roll width is on those?
No, I haven't, but it looks really good. I used that in a few spots. I did it in a couple spots, and then I went, well, I should really have plow lines. So the last time I did it, I actually ripped like 8 at a crack and ripped them down to see because I ripped real nice at being fabric, and then the outside one I did like how they plow around the outside and then plow the middle.
Mike Shanky, Woodland Scenics pants,
Yeah,
$199 per leg.
go to Goodwill and look at some really ugly brown corduroy pants.
Wonder what those would be like. Do you think those would take like airbrushing well?
Yeah, it's really nice material. There's no way I could fit into them anymore.
Well, not with a leg, not with a leg missing.
Yeah, I'm not that size anymore. Yeah,
No, you're not.
I still got a good leg yet, so I don't think I got any more fields. But yeah, I'm gonna make model them. Yeah, they're pretty. One leg's completely gone.
I can't believe that this is what our show's come to now, is modeling ripped jeans and corduroys. This is fantastic.
As long
I
as
love it.
Scenery, so like all the ground foam. That's all.
Oh yeah.
You know how much a bag of Woodland Scenics ground foam costs?
Well, if it's anything like their corduroys, it's expensive.
I haven't bought any for years. Where's another good spot? Up here's a good spot with all the trees and the greenery. So it's ground up foam rubber. So how do you make ground up foam rubber? I looked at a couple different articles of how to do it, and it was do a blender and some paint or some dye.
Yeah.
It worked. But when you have this much greenery that you need to cover, the quantity wasn't there that I was liking. So I found the best thing that worked was a meat grinder. The old
Okay, hold on a minute, Luke. Stop. We need a disclaimer, Andy.
Okay.
Hang on a second.
The second section podcast does not condone the following behavior for anybody to create their own ground foam. You do so at your own risk. Second section podcast is not responsible for if anything happens
I
at
am in
all.
no way responsible for the maiming or dismemberment of this idea.
I tried for years to get him to put a regulator on this thing, and he refused to do it. And continue, Luke.
Okay, so the hand crank meat grinder, like your grandma used to make to grind meat up, it works great, but it works good for meat. Foam rubber was a bear to crank through that thing. So what we found was a way to power it. So I think Shooter actually came up with the idea of if you mount it to the side of a bicycle to like where the pedals are, but pull everything backwards. So we have a mountain bike.
A traveling grinder.
So we took a mountain bike, mounted upside down on a pallet, held down by the handlebars, and the rear tire would ride on the shaft of my grandpa's table stump. So you got, if you're good with ratios and stuff, so you got the 3/4 inch shaft to the 26-inch tire, down to the little sprocket to the big sprocket, up to the meat grinder. I wanted the chipper shredder effect, like the Fargo kind of meat, or the
wood chipper from Fargo.
Yeah, the wood chipper. So this contraption got dubbed Franken grinder. It'll vomit out foam like you won't believe.
It is
Yeah.
the most
God.
unsafe.
Yeah,
When it's
it was-
getting grinding, it rocks back and forth.
Yeah, the meat grinder wasn't quite centered on it, so it had a little bit of undulation and a little bit of life to itself.
A little bit.
To switch gears, you can't switch the gears forwards anymore because you're pulling everything backwards. So you kind of have to stick a screwdriver in the chain while it's moving to kind of flip it backwards. I launched a screwdriver across the workshop one night doing that. But yeah.
So do we have pictures of said Franken grinder?
If you go in my group and you search Franken grinder, all one word, it'll pop up. Can you get in there, Andy? I know there's like a 3-second clip. But when I had it, I loaned it out to a few friends, and before I got rid of it, I made a little extra. So that's part of my supply. But I'm like, I'll just make another box before I get rid of it. Another box. I ended up with the size of a paper box that like reams of paper come in. I had 27 of those full of ground foam. 27 boxes. All for next to nothing. So,
and where did you get the ground foam for? Where did you get the foam from, Luke?
So the foam is couch cushions from the curb. So if someone's throwing a couch away, you pick all the couch cushions off. If they stink, you throw them back. If they're good, you take them home and you rip all the fabric off.
Never put a black light across his layout.
If you
go to
the recycle center, people who have like a half a gallon of paint, they paint their front door green and they still have half a gallon of green paint. That was free. So the paint was free. The foam was free. I made 27 boxes of free ground foam.
I think I got a picture of Franken grinder.
Yeah, that's an early rendition of it. There should be. Is that the one after Dennis put guards on it?
Yeah, Dennis Eggert modified it for safety.
Yes.
Yeah, it went around to quite a few people, and every person that took it afterwards made some type of adjustment to it, which was actually really kind of cute. So you're on the Gills Landing cam.
Does the Franken grinder have the?
Yeah. No, the videos are. There should be a little. It's kind of a choppy old video of it, but yeah, it's been loaned out to a few people. So
yeah, so that's pretty epic. So there's the Franken grinder. We've talked about Franken grinder, corduroys, but this is if you want a big layout, right? You have to. I think you got to think outside the box a little bit, right? I mean,
when I started this thing, I never thought about ground foam or ballast because
right.
I never would have built this thing just to realize how much scenery there is in this thing. There's Northwestern making on that. Yeah, the Northwestern parallels the bottom deck from Fond du Lac to Neenah, and being about 70 feet away from each other, how do you not model it? So that's a railroad on itself on the bottom deck. But my son took to that, and that's what really helped him get involved into the hobby. Oh yeah, here we should be able to get this before the drop.
We're gonna get the semaphore moving now. There you go. Semaphore down.
Yep.
So, couple of questions are rolling in here that we
got a meteor at Van Dyke.
Oh, hot snot! I'll be quiet.
Yeah, so
let you narrate, Luke.
And this was just one that was at Gills Landing. So he's been running the whole time. And now he's finally just made it to Van Dyne. He's not. Gills Landing is about halfway across the top deck. So how long has that been that we've been gabbing? Like 20 minutes at least before he's only got.
Is that the first one or the second one? No, that's the first one.
That's the first one at Gills Landing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this was about 20 minutes ago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you actually have some sense of of going somewhere.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. So he'll be coming. He should have one more intermediate coming into Shop's yard. Yeah.
Now, one thing I'd like to say there, Andy, and everything, and let everybody know
please.
too, is as one of the few people that are part of his operating crew that has actually been here since this was basically a blank basement. As a matter of fact, I think if I remember right, I was there for some of the early wall construction. Hey, Owen.
Owen's working the top deck local.
Yeah, you know,
Nice.
you really can lose yourself in what you're doing on this layout, and then like you may be passing 3 or 4 other people and not even realize it. It's just, oh, excuse me, and that's it, and you're not even thinking about what anybody else is doing. So when you're working the locals, it's even more intense.
So we had years. This was a good example. So there's a local that works based out of Wapaka and does out to Waiwega and back, and then the local that Owen's on will come down and grab these cars to take them south. Carl Blonick was working this one time, and he was trapped in this back aisleway. I mean, the main line was busy. He had a hard time getting out, struggling with the local and stuff like that. Somebody was walking around and finally saw him. They're like, "Oh, hi, Carl. When did you get here?" And he's like, I've been here the whole time. He was just back here. They never saw each other. And that was all of an hour and a half into the session. They didn't even know Carl was back there. So so it takes a monster. This is a monster in itself. So
it's awesome.
Yeah, but it's so much fun, and it's the one other thing before we keep on going. The other thing that Luke has been able to accomplish with this layout, and this is just being the veteran operator, probably one of the on the seniority roster, one of the, if you would call it that, even one of the more veteran guys or whatever. He's developed a very good core group of operators that he doesn't need. He could leave the room for 2 hours and the layout would run just fine. Yeah. He's accomplished that goal of not needing to be there. And it really is kind of cool.
This was one of my wife's sweaters that got eaten up in the tire. So this hemlock was like the hem.
He's in the back corner by Waiwega, Andy. So he's
gonna be a bit dodgy.
Yeah, it's all messed up back there.
Okay. Well, what we'll do is
we lost connection.
Yeah, I lost you for a second.
That's because you're back by Waiwega.
Yeah, I did bad internet. I should probably switch to the other router that's down here. But that's the fields over my wife's sweater.
So there's a couple of questions, Luke, coming in from the audience this evening. Split Rock asks, can you do remote dispatching?
I dabbled in it. The computer program that I'm using for dispatching,
Give it every tone.
Yeah.
We could.
I dabbled a little with JMRI, but JMRI is not what I'm using for dispatching right now.
Sure.
I'm using I'm going to the dispatcher's office. Do we have a dispatcher?
Yeah, there was someone else that asked about the dispatcher's office earlier, so let's go peek in on the dispatcher.
Let's go with the dispatcher.
Favorite room. Hello, Nathan. How you doing there, buddy?
Nathan.
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good.
Oh wow, he's watching us on his phone here. That's awesome.
This could get confusing. I'll mute this. Hold on.
Okay. Yeah, he's watching you as you're doing this.
That's awesome.
So
what are we using here for a program?
That Railroading Company is what I'm using.
Okay.
So right now, I got the Northwestern stuff on the top. This is the Soo Line, and the Soo Line is just the Logic stuff on the bottom. I need to clean it up. So there should be somebody out at Wapaka, and there should be somebody outside of Point. So I don't know which way they're going right now, but that's Point staging and stuff. So yeah, so he's got 6 main sidings. So he's got leaving Fond du Lac. He'll control like the first couple yard switches. You got Oshkosh, Winnebago, the Nini Yard. Then the top deck, you got Anton, Waiwiga, Nelson's, and then in the Point. So he's got 6 sidings to play with.
Yeah. So he controls all the traffic and then all of the switches as well, right? So is there local control of the switches, or is it all done by dispatch?
We can do there's nobody at Anton that can play with Anton.
Nobody at Anton.
Okay, we're gonna put my key.
But normally Nathan would just hit the button there on the
Yeah, he can
computer and
throw the
away we go.
switch.
But this is really slick.
So we'll take our take our switch keys.
So we actually have switch keys.
Switch keys.
So here we go.
So you got we're lying down the main right now
Yeah.
at Anton East. You can push the button, but you don't have any control of that. So if you put your key in to unlock the switch,
Yep.
then you should be able to. Then you can throw it for the siding.
And there you go. And you can see the light changed over, right?
Yeah.
There you go.
And
Look
in
at
real
that.
life, they call that getting permission to use a hand
Yeah.
operation.
Your hand
So
operating.
that's hand operating, and so you're simulating the hand operation, but you have to get dispatcher permission to do so.
A lot
Nice.
of the main lines you don't really need to deal with that. The biggest thing is like that Waiwiga will pack a job, so that package job will come down, and he'll actually have to make a couple of moves on
There goes Luke with his cam on the Wolf River cam.
Oh yeah. We're gonna go kind of back at the dead spot here. So if you're switching Waiwiga to get around in this house tracker on the depot and actually use this end, he's got to use West Waiwiga quite a bit. So it's just easier to hand operate instead of talking to the dispatcher every single move you make to get back and forth across the switch to get into the siding and that kind of stuff. So that's basically what the hand operation's for.
Yeah.
And the early sessions, I had people playing with the switches and the dispatchers, what's going on. To try to take some control away from the crews.
Sure.
To actually establish that the dispatcher has control of that stuff. So.
Yeah. So there's a couple more questions pouring in about the key. Can we go back to Anton?
Oh yeah, I can go any one you want. So
you flip that one back for the main. You're all clear then.
Yeah, I should be all clear.
Okay, so what is that key first and foremost? Is it a real key from a switch, or is it just like an like a Allen key?
Who's going to? Oh, Owen, can you help that? Who's going down to Helix? What do you mean? Somebody's trying to leave Point.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, they're down there on the P line. They took the P line, so they're going around. Find out who that is and help them back. Okay, so Nelson's East controls that switch. So this is my staging at Stevens Point.
Ooh, a look underneath the curtain.
Yeah, so all that is a push button and then a quarter inch stereo jack.
It's really nice duct tape.
That's my favorite duct tape.
Owls.
Two hands here. So all this does is just complete the circuit.
Yeah. And there you go.
I can throw Nelson's. If you don't,
Did something fall over the track there?
What's that?
Did something fall on the track?
I
Andy.
didn't see nothing.
That's just
part of the trees came across there.
No, I didn't do scenery here. When I was doing ground foam, I just slapped some stuff up there while it was still wet, drying.
Sure.
Did some green cover. I never went back. I've never been happy with the Nelson stuff. Oh,
no.
Whose train is that? Okay, well, it's still running. I've never been happy with the contour of this, so I might lock this down and I don't know. But this all folds up.
Yeah, that's a really cool way to do staging underneath, basically the top deck.
Yeah, so that'll. be some of
Oh
that.
yeah, so you can see. So that's Fond du Lac, right?
Oh yeah, that's the
Yeah. So you can see other part of the layout too, right down there through the hole.
yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, we can go around the Fond du Lac here.
Yeah. So I think one of the things that that I wanted to digest. Oh, go ahead.
We got a 5 leaving Fond du Lac here.
Okay. So that what's on the lead there? Is that an SD40?
A Jeep 40.
Jeep 40.
Soo only had 4 of them.
Yeah.
Who's ever leaving didn't have the rest of their train. Who's got this one? You don't have the rest of your train. Can you help whoever left? They don't have the rest of their train.
Yeah.
And then who's ever in the Helix is spinning.
Yeah.
Hi, Mike.
Crawl, you got to crawl in there, Felix. Crawl.
So this is live
look
at an op session here on the second sub. This is kind of the nice behind the scenes that not many people get to see. So Chris Bell has a question. How big are the helixes?
So what the one helix connecting the main one from the west end of Neenah up to Dale opens up. We got Shawano substaging underneath. That one was actually Little Mike's and it was used. I got this one from him and I think it was 30 and 32 and I just used the 32 on it.
Okay.
The other one, I think Phoenix is in there right now.
No.
Is that they was at the
was at the very back,
at the bottom. Yeah.
Okay, make it past.
Who is Little Mike, Luke?
Mike Wachowski,
And his layout is what?
the Rio Grande Moffett Road.
And he's in Green Bay too.
And he's also
Yeah.
in Green.
Yeah.
It's Phoenix. Phoenix is in there right now. This is the other little helix.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Can't see in there real good. That one is it was a single track, and as an afterthought, I double tracked it and added like another layer inside the other layer. So we're not going to talk about the radius of that one, but that's only down.
So we're not gonna. Yeah, that one's a tight.
So the other helix connects the 2 endpoints for continuous run. But I left one for eastbound and one for one direction, one for the other direction. So the second one only goes down. So that's 26 and then a couple inches in. So you're looking at like a 20, 23, 22. It's not pretty, but it's functional.
No.
I don't have any issues with it. We got another one coming at Van Dyne.
Yeah, another one here at Van Dyne. So this one's leaving Fond du Lac, or has just left Fond du Lac, and is on its way up to
Stevens Point.
And this is that Jeep 40 on the lead, right?
Yep.
So that Jeep 40 looks kind of unique. Doesn't have dynamics, I see.
Nope. None of the Soo stuff had dynamics in it.
So none of the Soo stuff. And what era are you modeling?
1979. I have not settled on a month yet, but 1979.
Yeah. Okay. So I wanted to, one of the things that I did want to dive into, Luke, was, and Chris Bell just asked the question. So what is the favorite locomotive that you've put together on your layout?
I know what the answer should be.
I don't know. Is Phoenix, you got our controller, Phoenix?
Can I answer that question for you, Luke?
Which one do you think it is?
Okay, it's a layout. It's an engine that is not actually ever used on the layout.
Which one's that one?
Your Soo Line BL2. It is the
Oh.
coolest looking thing ever.
So you got
That one's pretty cool. I like that one.
Baldy, and then
Can we zoom in? Oh, can I zoom in on this? I
I
can't.
don't know. Give it a try.
Oh, yeah, I can zoom. Can you see?
Oh, I can see the BL2 in the back there.
BL2 in the back of the back shop.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually one of my favorite units, and it's never used on a session because I don't even know. Does it have guts to it?
No, there's no guts in it.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
We had a friend that hated BL2s, and somebody else stripped the guts out of it, and I'm like, oh, I got a plan for that. One of my favorites though, out on the shelves. Where is my 771? I really
So we're
like
out in the crew lounge here now.
my 771. I guess that's one of my more favorite ones.
So what is the 771? Is that
just a plain SD40-2. Nothing fancy about it.
Nothing fancy, but it looks like you got
G40.
some really cool windows on it. Those don't look standard.
So the extra cab windows were standard up till 1980, when FRA mandated the bulletproof glass stuff. So they plated over a lot of the windows. So there was extra cab windows were still in my era, which I think are very, very distinctive.
Okay. I think we lost the mobile cam again here.
Yeah, he's got.
Did we lose you again?
Yeah. Yeah, we're back now.
You got me now?
Yeah, I got you back, Luke.
Okay. It went dead there for a bit. Bad
Bad
signal.
sell. So that 771, did that start out as just what did you use for the donor unit on that? Not sure if you heard me or not.
Okay. No. What do you got for questions?
Oh, I was just going to ask. So I just kind of take you through the process on that 771. Was that what you used as the donor unit on that?
That's just an Athearn blue box.
Started off as a blue box.
Yeah. Do I have any around? Similar ones of what I did.
Good.
Oh, wow.
49.
This is quite the roundhouse you have.
Yeah, a lot of the 40-2s are actually out earning their keep right now. Chop the fuel tank, chop the nose, chop the dynamics in there, change fans out. What else did I do on that one? What else do I got? We can grab that one off.
Yeah.
You still there, Andy?
Yeah, we're still here. We're just kind of following you around right now.
No, I'm trying to figure it out. Drop my key.
Oh, no.
No, I'm just trying to do everything one-handed here.
Yeah, it's a challenge.
What did I do to this one?
Mustn't crush.
Sorry. No,
It's all right. Take your time. We don't want to end up with a
when you get
destroyed model.
Oh, I did the extra walkways on this one too. Can I go back to the bench with this one?
Yeah, why don't we take that one back to the bench and just kind of walk us through the process on, kind of what you do for that. So we can put you on the bench cam if you want.
This one probably has better that I can zoom.
Oh, there you go. There you go. That looks good.
Starting more light. Just an Athearn blue box. The Soo's 40-2s had a smaller tank, so the front's chopped back a little bit. 81-inch nose, so I chopped that off. It's probably a Canon nose on there.
So, wow.
Did you keep a record of all the locomotives when you modified them, Luke, or as so you know in case something goes wrong, how to fix it if you go back?
Nah, yeah, just I know what I did with them. This one still had the e-bell on it. They were replacing the e-bell about this time. That one, I think I carved that one.
You carved the e-bell?
I think I did. Yeah, I think I did carve the e-bell on that one. extra cab windows are just an Athearn cab, but I actually filed the extra windows in. This one's got the walkway. Come on, zoom. Can you zoom?
Well, you can the zoom isn't the problem; it's the focus part of it.
Yeah, it's the focus bits. But so a blue box, you would have had to add the walkway tread, right?
Yeah. So you can kind of see the dividing lines on the walkway tread.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was at work one day and I found a pack of cigarettes laying on the ground, and the foil paper that the cigarettes are wrapped in has a really interesting texture to it. So I had some coworkers save their cigarette packs, and I took all the foil out and I actually like cut the foil on the 45 to get the diamond trade angled bias to it, and then I actually made walkway tread from cigarette paper.
That's outstanding.
I get a lot of joy out of making something from absolutely nothing.
So yeah, so like that's one thing we will unpack here in just a minute, but like for I guess to liken it back to the prototype, like how did you, first of all, how did you come across this subject to model? Was this one that you just saw, loved it, and this is what you wanted to do, or?
So 771. This is the reason why. So my dad went out years ago with my uncle, and somewhere they came along and they're looking for beavers or something like that. They're out in the woods, and this train came rolling through. So 771.
Yeah.
So my dad had this picture he took, had that blown up to an 8.5 by 10, and I had that hanging up in my room for the longest time as a kid. I wrote to Model Railroader to Ask MR column, asking. Well, I had no idea what engines were. I just knew it's Soo Line, so I asked him what the 771 was, and I actually got a reply back. I never got published on it, but someone replied there was a 40-2. And ever since that, I just kind of liked the 771.
Sure.
But you could tell. So this is a later picture. You can tell because the horn placement is up on top of the cab versus side of the cab. It's got a bigger plow. There's some things like that. They make it distinctive for area. So that I know that one's not in my area. But it should have the horn on the side. It still has the E-bell. You got the kick plates. So I do the aluminum kick plates on this one. So there's kick plates on the front of the steps.
Oh yeah, I see that.
That is
Sure.
aluminum duct tape.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
That's outstanding. That is amazing. So how did you, okay, so we figured out how we got the subject matter for this locomotive. So what type of research did you do with this? And how long did it take you to put this project together? There's a good comment, Split Rock, actual modeling versus opening a box. That's poignant.
I was young when I sent that in. I had that picture in my room when I was probably 7 or 8 for the longest.
Yeah.
I knew what it was, but I didn't know any references to Soo Line. Nobody in Green Bay modeled the Soo Line. I had no idea about the Soo Line. What I did find though along the way, Graham Stockfield gets major credit for molding me into a Soo Line modeler. So Graham Stockfield from Australia had a website. Is this the one? The Graham Stockfield unofficial website. This was his website. At home, I'd use my parents' home computer with dial-up internet and printed up every single page of his website, and I printed it off, wasting all of my parents' ink and paper. So if we go into the 700s, 757, 79. I should have. But I went through and I.
So basically you had
I
a
printed out his
binder.
website. Yeah, I had a binder of stuff. Railroad. There's a Todd Taylor unofficial website. I got a lot of photos
Unbelievable.
from that one, but from Graham I really learned what engines are what on the Soo Line.
Yeah.
What happened with the forklift?
It got stuck in between the fascia. I gotta look for it though.
Okay, put it back. Okay. Just the wheels broke off of it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I left the C&W was what was stuck.
Oh. Okay. Yeah. So that really helped me learn what the Soo had for power.
Yeah.
And learning that kind of stuff helped me really guide. Going back to realize other railroads compared to the Soo Line. Like my son Owen likes the C&W. You look at the roster of the C&W versus the Soo Line. Where's the hub, Owen?
Oh.
Where's the hub of it?
The hub is glued on. It should be there. If not, we'll go look.
We'll look for it.
Look at those lawn chairs.
The Soo Line had a really simplified roster. You look at like the Northwestern or the Milwaukee Road, they were renumbering stuff constantly, it seemed like, and the numbers kind of jumped around. The Soo had a very simplified number series. I mean, everything just kind of, they bought things in little batches. So like the SD40-2s, there was a batch of like 5 or 6 that had the cab vent here, but the numbers lower, which was very distinctive on this one. So there's like 5 that had that. But if we look at the roster, eventually I did learn the Soo Historical Society and the information. But yeah, this was that's 40-2 40s. So the 771 was a batch from like 767 to.
So you get all the way back into, when it was built and basically following the configuration of it as it progressed through its service life.
So the blue ones are Bob Rivard models that are numbers that Bob did. The orange are the ones that I'm doing. So I'm trying not to duplicate any number that Bob did. So the SD40s were actually pretty close. There's only a couple, like we got to do the 750. I got to do the 751, 53, 56. There's a couple. Yeah, I got them labeled not Bob.
Not Bob. There you go.
Yeah, so there's. I just learned. You learn the rosters, but when they bought like that, they bought like 8 at that crack. They had one order of like 5, an order of 5. But they were all sequentially. So the next things they bought were more 40-2s, and they bought like 5 of them. But there were little differences along the way of that.
Right.
And that's the kind of stuff I think is neat.
Yeah. I mean, it's even though that it's all, 40, 40-2s, they're all a little different, right? Yeah.
For the number placement. Then they had a bunch that came in the parallelogram scheme. There's a batch like that.
Yeah. So how do you go about keeping all of these details straight? Do you like basically create like a project list and then go to work, or do you just start modeling and then look at the model and then kind of look at the reference and kind of work your way that way?
There's like this the 40-2. You just know you got to chop the fuel tank. You know you got to get an 81-inch nose. On the 700 series, you got stuff hanging on the front of it.
But basically, you know that from the research then, right?
Yeah, I just know from the research. Should have an winterization hatch. Should have I didn't change the fans on this one. Like the Cato, the straight 40s. There was one around here somewhere that just took off. 742. There's one in the roundhouse, I thought.
But basically you're doing research nonstop.
Just the details of each thing. So
yeah, that's cool. Another look at shop's yard here.
That's been modified a little bit too, hasn't it, Luke?
the more I change, I add a little extra to the front of this thing, and yeah, it's kind of gobbled power everywhere.
So
But
that's that's an interesting comment, Mike. So even though the layout's been around for 20 some years, it's still a work in progress then.
oh yeah. So when I built Oshkosh, when I started the layout, I didn't do a lot of Oshkosh research.
Yeah.
That's why Van Dyne got so big. I had the Northwestern paralleling. Well, there's the Northwestern right now. So the Northwestern and the Soo Line kind of separate through Oshkosh. So it's coming. This is the Northwestern through Van Dyne.
Yeah.
Other side of Van Dyne, it parallels, and then the Northwestern kind of hides, ducks, cuts through the workshops, dives under Oshkosh, and pops back up the other side of Oshkosh. I had the
Yeah.
Northwestern actually coming all the way around here, wrapping around the little Helix, and I left like this one wall for Oshkosh. Through the years, Oshkosh has kind of sprawled itself back and pushed that stuff back that way. So things have changed. I'm still kind of doing research. I chopped out. There's one of the 40s. Here's a good scene. Irving and Division.
Oh yeah. My old stomping grounds. Back when I was in college.
Calhoun's Beach Club.
Oh yeah, I've been to CBC's once or twice.
Yeah.
It's a college
Murphy's.
bar. Yeah, Mabel's. Yeah, before it burned down. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So we corners. Yeah. So this was the layout I've been working on. Yeah. Yeah, I built a couch the other day.
That's got a little bit of Fran Dittmer influence in it there, Luke.
There's a couple of couch cushions missing, though. What'd you make ground foam out of them?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
So I chopped out from Murdoch to like whatever this is. I chopped out like 12 blocks. This came up, and there's a Main Street intersection. So Main's actually a block over. So this couple blocks is all kind of fudged.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to come up with a way to kind of meld the Tower CF scene and the Division Street scene kind of together. So this is kind of.
What is Tower CF, Luke? What is that exactly?
So the Northwestern parallels, and then they had a branch that cut across the Soo Line.
Mm-hmm.
And that went up through Medina, Hortonville, that way.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Up into New London and up towards Ashland, right?
Yeah, it was
or
a
Elon
tower,
or something.
But there should be a smash gate in my era, so I want to do the smash gate. And supposedly, interlocking wise, this would stay like it wouldn't pick the sewer C and W until the block ahead got occupied. So I've heard stories of like there's Northwestern coming up out of Oshkosh. So like the intermediate at Murdoch would stay approach until you got in the block ahead of it, then it would actually pop it up. So you could tell if there was a train coming from behind you, knowing when that light popped up green. So there's some logic to the interlocking I need to figure out yet. But yeah, I'm debating on putting a runaround in here, so that's why I got things are kind of.
I see. That's where a little construction in progress here.
So this couple blocks I've not been happy with yet, so I'm starting to warm up to this, putting the runaround in the switch. So things are kind of still in flux there. Yeah, you would think after 26 years I'd have some of the stuff nailed down, but I'm still tweaking.
It's kind of cool how you do the cutaway buildings there on the edge of the fascia.
There were stories of the crews of the stuff they could see in being up into the second story windows of houses and stuff like that. So that was one thing I wanted to model with.
Graham Stockfield says that you need a little wallpaper on some of the insides of these buildings.
I need to paint the house yet. I haven't decided on the color. It's still the mocked up City Classics house.
Yeah, right.
So I got to paint that. But I did come up with I had some red felt laying around for the shag carpet. So
Yeah. So then Split Rock has a question. What's Chicago Northwestern line is that's paralleling?
That's the that's the
The
valley.
Valley? The
Yeah,
Valley
it's the
sub?
valley.
Yeah, the Valley sub.
So that'd be green. That at Nina, it comes up to Nina here, and it splits apart. So this will come up, and this actually just makes a lap around, and it comes back into Fond du Lac again. So that's a kind of a circle within itself.
Sure. Oh yeah, that's right. And then it kind of wanders off.
Yeah. So this would come up with my son liking the C&W stuff and running it. That was originally hidden all the way back around Fond du Lac in the workshop again. It would run hidden all the way around the basement and come back out. My son wanted me to expose more of that. So along the way, as an afterthought, we cut the fascia open down here and made the Northwestern from like their Nina yard, Menashe yard, and the Canal Bridge, and then the island across.
Oh yeah.
And this is what would be the Manitowoc sub, but my Manitowoc sub staging is actually down under here.
Over here. Yeah, very cool. So this is so how long do your operating sessions go then?
Until people get tired, basically.
Aha.
The day just keeps perpetuating. So that we just go until we stop. If we just draw a line, and that's where we pick back up for the next session.
Yeah, and it looks like we got one waiting here, huh?
Yeah, I don't know who we're waiting on. But yeah.
So where are we at on the layout now?
This would be Wyawega.
Wyawega.
Presto. A lot of people will probably know Wyawega for the great Wyawega derailment in, what was it, 96?
1996.
There was a train here that derailed a bunch of propane cars, and they evacuated the town.
Wiped out that whole section of town.
Yeah, it wiped out all of this. And there's the way to get rid of the burning propane cars was to just let them burn out, so that everybody was vacated for like a month. That one was all over the national news. But in the meantime, trying to do research for this co-op, which was vaporized, was a challenge. So yeah.
it literally was incinerated like almost instantly.
Unbelievable.
It was
nobody
pretty.
took photos of Wyawega. So yeah.
So you don't run a fast clock or anything like that with your operations, do you, Luke?
I try to. Let's go to the call board.
Yeah, let's go to the call board.
It didn't work very well. Yeah, there. Look at all the Foxy guys are standing around doing nothing.
Yeah, this will happen. Yeah.
What's going on in Nina? Jeez, they got a pile up in there.
Yeah, that's everybody. What did you guys do to my law cars?
So there's an interesting picture of Mike. Well, no, that was at Wyawega where there was the 3-man meet, wasn't there? And you were a little less than happy.
Well, yeah, I'm never happy when I have to make a meet or sit around and do anything.
He's in the nose. He's in the nose right now.
So this is this is how I do my call board. I do have basically the time of the day, and I have it set for like 5-minute increments. So if I would set it out as whatever time it is now, 15 minutes from now, that train should get called.
Yeah.
That's basically how I do it. Trains out of Fond du Lac, Nina, and Point. And then when they're done, they just sign their name and they get the next assigned train. So right now I have Mike is available. So I only have everybody down here. I have one person available for the next train. So.
Holy folks!
That's it.
Oh, Mike, yeah. So I got nobody on my extra board right now.
That was a really good comment that Chris Holzbach just put up there about time compressing on the main, but not on the yards. That might sound really funny, but it's actually really true, because if you're like at Fond du Lac, you're kind of in your own little world, and the next thing you know, you're absolutely getting hammered, and it comes one right after another, after another, after another, and then you run out of room, and there is no way to do any kind of fast clock operations with a yard operation. You just have to go put your nose down and just go to it.
Oh, I just missed the Soo or the Gills landing cam.
Oh,
6 just came in. I'm gonna build a 5.
Oh, son of a bee sting.
That's that meat at. Oh, remember they're making a wheat at Waiawega.
Here, I'll pull that back up while Luke runs to the other side of the layout here. But I apologize if there goes Luke. I apologize.
So the guy that was meeting.
Yeah.
So
Apologize.
the guy that was. Sorry for the Blair Witch Project footage here.
No, but I just wanted to basically say, hey, thanks section crew for hanging with some of the Blair Witchiness here. But if you guys do have questions, please get them up and in the chat so I can get them up to Luke. And I apologize if I've missed some of your questions from earlier, but I will do my best to get them up. So let's see here.
I was just going to say, I can answer that one. The answer to that is that's on the dispatcher. The dispatcher really communicates with the yard masters at Neenah and Fond du Lac, and Neenah really has full control over what trains come through Neenah and what don't. And so all the trains need to get a hold of Neenah to find out, or the dispatcher to find out if they're going to be allowed to go through Neenah. Even through trains have a tendency to sometimes have to sit and wait at either Antone's siding or at Winnebago siding on either side of Neenah in order to, so the yard at Neenah has room for them to even just go by, because sometimes Neenah can get that congested.
Yeah.
And so,
because we talked about that earlier, right? There's like 4 points coming into Neenah at one time. So it can get hammered from all 4 sides at once.
And if you don't, and this is going to sound kind of bad, and I'll breach this topic here a little bit.
So this is why he's probably waiting here.
Yeah, exactly.
He's got a Neenah set out on him, and if Neenah can't handle him right now, Neenah probably called the dispatcher and says, "Ding him any place you can."
Yeah.
A good dispatcher and a good Neenah yard master will see that and can do that to help smooth your ebbs and flows. I guess is a good. How do you phrase that the best?
I mean,
that's exactly it.
In real life, we'd be told, "Hey, you're going to be at Waiawega for 2." That's all you ever find out. That's it. You're just going to be sitting there for 2 trains. You don't know the reasonings behind it, but you do know the reasonings behind it. It's because Neenah can't handle you. Or there's something done at Fond du Lac that they want you to. They're trying to slow the operation of the trains getting there too fast.
Right.
So that's essentially how that all works.
So
make it down at local? Not yet. He's on his way. I just got everything kind of blocked up for him. So I got everything for his job himself. I got things for Reedville. There's a couple. What else do you have?
Can you put that Custer on him too? That was back in there.
Yeah. There's a Custer. There's all sorts of good stuff for him himself, and then I also have some Stephen points for him to pick up. So I don't necessarily have to give him Stephen points, but he's going to Stephen's points, so I'm going to give him a couple.
Yeah, flush him out because I know there's a lot of West here, isn't there too?
Yeah. No, I just haven't been picked up.
Okay.
So all the West are gone. I'm going to have him pick up a bunch of Stephen points, and that can give me.
Owen came back up in at 29, so you're flush for Manitowocks.
I am swamped with Manitowocks. I got 2 full tracks Manitowocks.
Okay.
So
sounds like it's time to call a crane.
Yes.
So we can run a Manitowoc job. And then 30-30 wouldn't probably be the next thing. Do you have any way work or local stuff?
I'm kind of doing that in between sorting out everything else. I already got the downtown stuff and yard limits done.
Okay.
I'm going to run on the main once I get some time to go do the foundry and other stuff.
Okay.
Just because we don't have a lot of people. So
yeah.
They're swamping the Neenah yard job today, which is great. I love it.
Okay.
I have
I
never
don't-
heard
Luke-
those words ever put together in one sentence ever before in my
Luke-
life.
Luke told me
Who do
he
you
was
have
gonna
on
make
the
a
Who
big
do you have
bonus.
on the Nini Yard job today, Luke?
What's that? We got Carter. Carter running.
Carter, I thought I recognized you. Yeah.
Yep.
Doing
Carter
good.
running up for that. Where you at, Owen? You're coming on Helix? Oh, you're up at Anton.
I finally have
Yeah.
enough seniority. I can hold Nina.
We got one coming up. Oh, okay. So we got a meet coming to Anton here.
Yeah. Drug test Carter.
Yeah,
David
exactly.
Winther.
Yeah, I would.
So we got, but I think this was a neat little segue because you kind of get to see it's, during the live operations, the communication that's going on between all the different types of crews that are out running around in the yard masters. But then there is points where it's waiting,
Yeah.
and that's very prototypical, is it not?
Yes, and that I think is the neat thing about this. I mean, I think it does a pretty decent job emulating. I mean, what the feel of the real life.
Yeah. So here we have another one coming right at us.
Yeah.
And this one's going to head through, is it Antone?
So you're 17, Mike? Is that what you are? 16? 17. 401. 401. Oh.
There's a surprise.
Oh.
Oh,
Oh.
401.
Or no. No. Okay, no, you're straight shut up, right?
Yeah. So this one's going to Stevens Point then, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this thing, I was looking at videos the other day, and I saw one of those in one of Bob's videos, and I'm like, now I need a blue all door. So yeah.
Well, 3D Central, man. That's where you got to get them.
Yeah, I do have one of those too. It's that kind of stuff that you find the cars, and you're like, I need to really model one of those. Where's the low am box that I did? They get you in a complete. Let's try to build this box car kind of thing.
Hey, Luke, when you get a moment, and we get another thing to talk a little bit more about operations here, just real quick. You've kind of gotten to a point in your modeling where you've really have been diving deep, and I know this because you and I are buddies, and whatever. But you've really gone out of your way to find some very creative, out of ordinary trains that people would not even think about modeling.
Oh.
Do you happen to have the rail train handy, or maybe the weed sprayer train handy?
Weed sprayer is kind of boxed up yet, but the rail train.
So I'm just so you know, Luke, we got one on the Gill's landing cam here. I'm just gonna
That's
run.
the one we just saw at Antone.
Yep.
That was just at Antone. And then we got Carter's beard.
No, Carter's beard is in the way.
Carter,
move. Why is everybody going over there?
I don't know. Maybe there's something happening. But that's another thing you get to do on this layout too, is just sit back and rail fan.
Oh yeah.
So,
Nathan, bring up.
All right, so we'll bring Luke up live here. So we're back into the storage area.
So I did a rail train.
So
I didn't know it was tucked away.
Yeah, it's tucked away right now. That all started because at Van Dyne, I saw a lot of there's a lot of shots from 175, the overpass, with a rail train sitting on the siding. I'm trying to think if I can pull up these. Yeah.
Luke, are you good if I flip all these car cards so that when I go switch, I actually have pickups?
Oh yeah, I forgot to flip those. So a lot of shots at Van Dyne overpass. There was always flats with rail sitting right here. I basically started the rail train project as rolling scenery. And the farther I got along with it, with modeling just empty flats, the more I wanted to make it loaded. So I ended up making rail to go on it. But that was the intent with that, was to have
just rolling scenery because there was always a rail train sitting in here. The Fond du Lac, when they did the welded rail, they had contracted in Holland Welding, and they actually had it up in the roundhouse at Fond du Lac. The contractor set up sticks of rail, and they would actually pull these sticks of rail into this car, weld it together, and shove it out the other end of this car onto the welded rail train. And they made their own welded rail.
Oh, wow.
So that I thought was distinctive. So unfortunately, I don't have enough room to model the welding setup. So, but that I did do some research on that kind of stuff. But the welded rail train started as a rolling scenery kind of thing.
So that's fully operational.
Yeah,
and
it'll go back by it.
Yeah, and what did you use to make the rails?
The rail is just strip styrene, but I cut it.
Picking up Clayton.
Might pick it up. No,
Recorder.
Oh, which way is that one going though? Oh, we got to go to landing cam again. Oh, that's the meet at Laihudia.
Yeah.
Well, he finally got cut loose there. Attaboy.
There they go. There they go. All the way across.
He should
I don't get sick of looking at that bridge.
He's got probably a 6'8" to set out there. The bottom deck, you should see him take headroom to set out when he gets down to Nina.
Oh, okay. So he'll come past the foundry here.
Yeah, on the bottom deck.
Voith. Yeah. So we'll see. We'll be catching back up with him in a little bit as he's making his setouts at Nina as he's going downtown.
Is that the rear trailer on that? Is that the ghost lettering one?
It looks like it.
Let's go find it. Oh, okay, let's go to the rail train.
Squirrel.
Squirrel.
So we're back here to the rail train.
It's just so I buy sheet styrene of 4x8 sheets. So I ripped it down. So I ripped down, it was like 60 thousandths, and then I just took a black Sharpie and I drew a shadow line on the side. It's kind of hard to image here, but if you go to my rail train, I'm sure there's stuff on my YouTube. Yeah. There's a good description on my YouTube channel.
That's neat. And then you did a weed sprayer one too, right?
Yeah, that's still in the works. That's boxed up from the last place I took it. I got to get back at that project.
There's been new evidence for that weed sprayer train that needs to be added to it now. So
it wasn't completely factual.
Oh no, it's pretty doggone close. It's really close. It's just there's some added details that have been discovered.
Yeah. Oh, this was a neat one. There was a shot that had a bunch of Lime cars on the head end. It ended up being Alaska cars. They ended up being leased by the Milwaukee Road in my era, and they Mayville, Wisconsin, loaded lime into them. So I ended up tracking down the two different schemes that were in that train, and I actually made those gons. But those are a Tyco. That is a Tyco car.
What?
That I carved all the grabs off and reworked the end ribs on them and stuff. It's kind of hard.
Holy cow! So that build was in your Facebook group as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, if you just search lime loads, or something could pop up.
Oh my god, I remember that because you turned basically Tyco cars into these exact rail or tangent looking type cars. I mean, the detail on it is ridiculous. That was a Tyco.
Yeah, that's well. So it's an Athearn underframe stuffed, Athearn 40-foot reefer underframe stuck into a Tyco. I'm the same with Bob Rivard underframe challenged. If you can't see it, I'm not sticking any time into it. So the bottoms look ugly. But yeah.
So what did you do to weight that? It looks like you had some kind of is that like resin of some sort?
No, that's that little steel shot with Elmer's glue mix, and I just filled every void.
Where did you get the steel shot from, Luke?
My dad was a custodian in the rollout bleachers in the high school gymnasium. The roller had a leak, and it was full of this really fine steel shot.
So it was leaking all over the place. My dad just swept it all up, and I had a coffee can full of it. And that coffee can probably weighed 25 pounds, 30 pounds.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah. I actually have a little bit of it here too. I've used it on some of my stuff too. It really does a great job of weighting cars.
This one is that it's a Canon gun. I had a review in real
Model Rail News.
On that one. But the lime load, that's just foam rubber carved, and then it's all-purpose flour glued on the top of that.
That's crazy. I never knew you used that you used AP flour for the line.
Yeah,
which makes sense. Flour. I mean, it's not, it makes sense. I mean, it's the right color. It's the same, as everything else that you got going on.
This one's a neat one. So the back door I opened up. The door actually hinges.
Like, is that hinge? Is it hinges from the factory, or did you cut that open?
I cut that open. That's a Bachmann shell because I wanted to split. I'm not happy with the windshield in the front end, kind of thing, but it had the split verticals.
Oh yeah.
But there was a lot of Ron Cameron mentioned that the F units would be really drafty in winter. So when you had them in notch 8, it would suck the engine room air to burn, for the combustion. But it would suck so much it would actually take the heat out of the cab. So a common practice was to open one of the back doors. So
that makes it like a relief door almost.
So it would suck outside air opposed to sucking air out of the cab. So in winter it would stay. So a lot of times in winter photos, you'll see a door open.
And that's the only reason is to try to keep the heat in the cab.
Yeah, to try to keep the heat in the cab.
That's interesting. That's really cool. I wonder if it was like that on a lot of F7s, like for a lot of railroads. Probably, I would imagine. It can't be just a one-off thing.
So when I wanted to model that, I said I wanted to cut it open, and everyone's like, "Oh, you should make a hinge on that." So if I get a toothpick, you should be able to get in there and actually close the door.
Oh, jeez, look at that. That's awesome. Yeah. One thing, Andy, is that cool. One thing that I've noticed a lot, and I know I've said this before, but but having been around Luke's stuff, there isn't anything that Luke hasn't built so far that I've seen, with the exception of maybe the rail train and one or two other items that he's not afraid to handle. There is no real, like that. I mean,
it's a Bachmann shell with an Aether drive. I got with aluminum foil or some with the aluminum duct tape. For the decal,
there's
$30. I got stuck into with the decoder, and without the decoder, you're looking at it's probably a swap meet $20 Aether drive I got in that thing. Yeah.
So Paul Cassar has got a question for you, Luke. He says, "This is a fantastic, amazing detail. How do you find time for all this?"
Lots of little increments.
Don't like the 30-minute a day thing.
Don't think you have to spend all a Saturday at the workbench. A lot of times there'll be something upstairs on the counter, like I work on something, a screwdriver or something that just needs to get downstairs. A lot of times, like holiday decorations have to go back under the layout. So when I bring the holiday decorations downstairs, I'll sneak at the workbench for 5-6 minutes and get something done there. There's just a lot of little increments. And I think that's the true secret. You don't have to spend a lot of time. There's just a lot of little things. I mean, like I got what's on the bench now. I got mini Prince chairs. I gotta paint the straps on that.
Oh, lawn chairs.
Lawn chairs.
Where are those gonna go?
I got one at Gill's Landing.
Okay.
right now. I got the cooler. I did the
Stay away, Mike.
painted the cooler.
He didn't pick up on that.
Yeah, no, you're not messing with my picnic tables.
So
okay, go to Dale. Go to Dale, Luke. All right, do you see that? It's a beautiful scene.
Don't you want to know where those chairs are going?
See, even Nathan knows. So all those picnic tables, they're beautiful little picnic tables, and there's a garbage can in there someplace, or those chairs and benches. Somewhere there's a garbage can. Oh yeah, the garbage can right there. Over the course of the last, I don't know, probably a couple of years, year and a half.
I've been hanging them on the telephone graph poles.
I'll take one and hang them on the telephone pole and everything. And I just do it casual. I do it really gentle. I don't do it malicious to try to hurt. I just do it to see if he's paying attention. And that's it.
So there's a ball diamond there. And this is my next little.
Cool.
So that's kind of the plan for this. When you come in, I want to do like the backstop with a couple set of bleachers with like home plate and like the pitcher.
Are you gonna try to put the crick in there too, or no?
I don't. I think if I build this up, there should be a bit of a ditch enough.
Yeah.
But I heard a lot of stories where like. Not necessarily Dale, but there's another place down south of Fond du Lac, where their exposure to the Soo Line was out playing baseball in the fields when they were baseball league when they were a kid, and they'd watch the trains go past.
Oh yeah,
Lamira.
Yeah, Lamira was probably one of them. But
yeah.
I think this is just the perfect little scene when you walk in. Was your place standing out in right field, and watching the Soo Line go past Dale.
Yeah.
That's
great. Cool.
So I want to get like
I love that idea.
So the pitcher's mound out in the front. So I did that park shelter in a road into the. So I'm trying to mock up a road into the park and try to. The red feed mill was a very iconic scene at Dale. And I just wanted to do it. And there's a park across the street, across the tracks from it. So it was a great viewing spot with a great way to see the feed mill.
So question coming in, Luke, from RI Modeler 79 is asking, how often do you clean the track and how do you do it?
I honestly haven't cleaned it for a while. I switched to tomato wheels. That really seemed to help. Boy, this guy's getting dinged again at Antone.
Oh, he's just stop and go all day.
Yeah, he's not going anywhere. The track cleaning.
We have a funny story for you.
Where's my cars? Let me get my track cleaning cars. Sorry, a little Blair Witch thing here again.
It's all right.
So I got like 3 of these. So that's an Athearn underframe.
Yep.
Chopped out the middle, styrene strip on the side, and a 9-volt battery for weight. Excuse me, Carrie. And then a wood block.
2x2.
2x2. There's a couple different sizes that I ripped down. See how much stuff's on there?
I could never figure out what it is.
That's it. Just drag those things around.
It keeps your track pretty clean.
Yeah.
You don't put any solvent or anything like that on it. Yeah, dry. Yep.
Dry. But I did make this one. It's got toothbrush heads on it. Because I found like a lot. You get the head clean, but you don't get the stuff on the side. So these have little floating,
like scrubbers.
Yeah, little scrubbers.
Cool.
I bet you that work good between 2 center lines.
Yeah.
To loosen shit up.
Yeah. And that I did do little rollers for a while. It's a 1/2-inch pipe nipple.
Yeah.
You just wrap it with a paper towel.
with the roller car.
So just
Yeah.
just a couple different ways to do it, but your primary way is the the e the easy wood block and an old 50-foot boxcar.
Yeah, not even 50 foot. The shorter it is, the less it's going to swing around. But whatever Athearn garbage you can find that you just
Athearn garbage. There you
a little
go.
bit of 40,000 there where the weight would be, and then there's some. Well, the Digitrax you use all the batteries. The batteries die. So I just put
Yeah,
some
right.
It's just a 9-volt on there.
Yeah. Repurposed it that way.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, there's no reason to overcomplicate it. So.
No, not at all. So sounds like things are starting to wind down by you there, Luke. Is everyone getting through their trains?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think what I want to do here quick, Luke, is I know we saw a lot of stuff tonight and talked about a lot of different things. But what I do want to do is just offer up to the section crew in the chat tonight. I think we got 115 out there right now. Why don't you go ahead, throw your questions in there for Luke and the crew over at the second sub. We'll get them up and get them answered. But I think from my standpoint, I guess what I want to ask you, Luke, is what's next for the second sub?
There's a lot of modeling projects to do.
Yeah.
Just a lot of it's going back to. I'm really good at shape and color for scenery. To actually go back and to finalize the detail, there's just a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
There's still a couple unfinished scenes that I'm still working on, like that Oshkosh junk. There's a Kimberly Clark paper mill in Neenah that I cut out Lake Street. I cut out some other stuff, and I compressed it so much I didn't leave myself enough room to model paper mill.
Yeah.
So
Right.
There's a lot of things like that. I got so many projects I don't know where to. You come downstairs with so many different directions to go. This was. Can you zoom in on that guy or not?
Is that the Ghost Letter trailer?
Yes. So there's one of the Sioux Society magazines had a picture of this. It's an actual. Can we catch the light?
There you go.
It is Sioux Z for reporting marks. Let's try the other side. Probably catch this a little bit. Okay. See that on the door?
Yeah.
So that's, what is that? That's the old lettering before it was a Soo Line trailer. I'm trying to come up with a way to do this. And Split Rock came up with Cricut cutter and tape. So he Cricut cutted tape for me, but he's in the Twin Cities and I'm in Wisconsin, so we are Green Bay. So he cut the tape out and mailed me the tape. That was Cricut cut, and then I put it on my trailer and painted a lighter gray on top of the other gray to give that ghost lettering effect.
Oh, that's cool.
That
so just
the trailer that I left open with a ribs.
Oh, that's nice.
A lot of the stuff is just seeing. I knew Bob was going to be working on some trailers, so I wanted to see how I could build it better than Bob.
Well, that's funny because the 23rd show we're gonna have Bob on, so we'll be talking to him and see how he tries to build it better than Luke.
Well, yeah. Well, that's the neatest thing for me is for all these years I've watched Bob's modeling and all that kind of stuff. The stuff that he would do, it's like that's a Bob Rivard car. I mean, is that one? That one I think is a Chuck Duras car. To see to actually have Rivard pieces. Actually, the 709 is a Bob. It's a Rivard engine. He did a new 709, and he gave me the shell from his old 709.
Oh, that's right.
So yeah.
Is there anything, Luke, that with all the stuff that you've done so far? I mean, you like I said before, you've done some pretty odd stuff. I mean, you have the art train that went on the Soo Line, which is actually really kind of cool. You get that to a second, but is there something that you just kind of gnaws at you? I have two questions really, but they're totally unrelated. But is there something that kind of gnaws at you that you wish you could do that you just know you can't because there's not enough space, or it would take away from something else?
No matter the size of the layout, you still wish you had a couple more inches here and there.
Right.
Story of my life.
Right.
Yeah. this Kimberly Clark Mill's gnawing on me. That's like.
Well, okay. Well, now that you brought that up, that relates to my next question.
Yeah.
I know that mill. I've switched that mill. You and I have switched that mill. So it goes all the way across, and there's that conveyor that goes across.
Yeah.
So I know what you'd used for it, but how did you create that conveyor, and what did you use? Because that conveyor's got a very distinctive corrugation to it in real life, or it did, because I don't think it's there anymore.
It's gone now.
What did you? Yeah, it's all gone now. So what did you use to emulate that corrugation?
So there's it's hard to see. So there's tape. So we were spotting a place that had sheetrock wrapped in plastic, bulkhead flat car, and so they wrapped the bundles up with this plastic, and then they taped the corners down, and there was a little bit of a roll left of this 3M tape that had cord. Can you hear it? It's hard to see on this, but it's striated, and it was the perfect silver. So all it is a piece of pine, 3/4 pine that I rounded over, or was it 3/4 round over bit on both sides of it, and I made the shape. It's kind of peeling back here. Kind of see my
that now you can see it.
Yeah, now you can see it.
Yeah.
It's just covered in tape. So I did track some of that stuff down. Tape. I can't find the silver, but I did find that tape in a white and a black.
Oh yeah.
Oh
It's
wow.
almost like carpet tape.
Yeah, real close to it.
It's like a vinyl-y tape though. It's just kind of weird. But
that's cool.
So yeah, that's why I used just that for that.
Can we see the art? Can we see the art train real quick?
Yeah, let's.
This is really cool, Andy. I don't know if you knew about the art train at all, but there's a whole story about the art train in its time on the Soo Line, and it.
You're ready. Starting to move again. Oh my God. Starting to move again.
So that's the art train.
Wow.
So
what's the story behind that?
So the Michigan Council of Arts wanted a way to allow smaller communities without a museum to be access to art culture. So they made a traveling display, and it traveled everywhere. If you look up the art train, what was it, the 90s, they finally gave up on rail and they went to like a truck display kind of thing. But they had three display cars. There was like a workshop car and like a power and crew car kind of thing. But every few years they painted it. But this thing was in Montana. This thing was in Florida. This thing was everywhere. You talk to people from my era. Gladstone came down, went to parked in Menasha for a while. This thing was everywhere.
Am I going to send Helix up the runner? So I thought it was a neat little project. So I actually had decals made up and stuff like that. I worked on this one for a while.
That's really cool.
But the caboose was a complete bash job. But the little stars of the art train go across the glass of the window. You're a different train now. So decaling process wise, when you spray clear coat, you always tape the windows off. When do you put the windows in? When you have to decal the windows.
Right away. Question. Just do it now.
Yeah, it was.
Is that a little air conditioner on the cupola?
Yeah. Let's get this thing done by somebody. This one was a really fun. There
you go.
It's got little curly cues on the top of the end.
Oh, the ladders.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
What a cool project.
Yeah. And the thing is, when I'm done with it, I can ship it off to other people's layouts. So Andy, if your people up in your little town need some culture and some art.
They do. Desperately.
They will.
Desperately in need of culture up here.
The diaphragms between it, I heard someone said neoprene. So that is, I had a roll of neoprene when I cut them down, and it's just a solid. I can't get them apart with it.
No, that's all right, Luke. But you get to see the gist of it, right?
Yeah, it's a solid block of neoprene with just a solid piece of 10,000ths on the end to get the diaphragm.
Dang.
They had the car should be an actual 85-foot car. This is Athearn chopped down 72 foot. So I had to compress the lettering. The color shade should be a couple more windows, but so we kind of fudged the color gradation of the windows. But each one was different. They had different conduits on the top. This one was actually a really fun one because it's like a River Rossi, and then the vestibule doors. I left the vestibule doors open on it. And these are actually striated and stuff. It's actually was a weird project. But yeah, that was a fun one. So yeah, so if anybody needs a little culture in their little towns, I'd like to get this one up by the Split Rock. I'm sure the people of Agate Bay could use some culture up there.
Yeah.
We know that's a true statement.
That's a true story.
True story.
This was a 76 scheme. They changed it again. They painted it a couple different paint schemes. But the whatever railroad have it would have their power and their caboose, but it would still have the air train caboose with it too.
Oh, and I got me one of those Athearn GP18s, the Bicentennial Northwestern unit coming. Oh,
there you go.
That would look real good.
Yeah.
The only culture in Agate Bay is a yogurt cup.
Yeah.
Well done, Thomas. Come on.
Conveyor was a fun project.
Yeah, so you don't just model. So here's the other bit, right? So we kind of touched on this a little bit, but it's not only you're not modeling just specific pieces of rolling stock or specific scenes in a town like in Oshkosh on Division Street. There, you're actually also modeling the trains as well.
Yeah.
And based off of a photo that you saw of a concept.
Yeah. So the lime, if you go in my group and search lime loads, Lou Gerard had a great shot. Is that Lamira? Coming through, and there's just a handful of lime loads on the head end and just dust piling off of them. So I wanted to do, it was a Soo Line car, a couple of Alaskas, there was a Missouri Pacific, and then a couple other ones. So yeah, so I actually, in the Milwaukee Road one, so I actually I modeled all the cars for the Lime Load series. And then there was a shot cresting Byron somewhere in Byron Hill. I forget what the power was, but then it was a Milwaukee Road box. And then it was this massive string of ConAgra cars that went out of the picture. So I wanted to do ConAgra cars.
Tangent made them. There was a few other people that made Conveyor carts, but I couldn't find them at the time. It may be in cheap. I ended up finding with their old Herald King decals, and then they're Accurails that I painted.
It's not cheap, thrifty, I think is
Yeah.
the
But
correct.
like the walkways are silver, but in the Accurail, they're cast on. So I actually sawed off the walkways, painted the car, painted the walkway, and glued the walkways back on, just because I figured that was a lot easier than taping.
Right.
Right.
So
Yep.
yeah,
I agree with that.
there were the Penn Central grain train.
I like that train myself.
Oh,
Personally, that's one of my favorite extra trains that he's got. It's really sharp.
So when Scale Trains came out with all the low hip Penn Central hoppers, there's a Lou Gerard shot from Nina, I think it's 79, of all these Penn Central hoppers. Got a couple Conrails mixed in, all Conrail vintage, but just all the sea of jade green Penn Central hoppers. Right at Nina, right at Cecil Street, with a F unit 3840 F unit consist. So when Scale Trains came out with those hoppers, I bought more than I probably should have, enough to make the train out of it. And then I ran it a couple times, and I parked it in staging. That's part of the reason for the shelves. You put all this work in these projects. I'd like to see them, at least now they're displayed. So yeah, I need to dig that one out again. That was a fun train.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, a lot of it's based off of photos.
I was gonna say, now you're to the point where you're kind of, you got the stage built, and now you can start building all the actors. We keep using this like theater or this movie reference, right? So the setting and the stage is built. And now it's time to make these cool actors.
The tank hopper.
Oh yeah.
Oh geez.
So, a lot of these 70s eras train that I model, they had these tank hoppers in there. It's a cylindrical. It's like a little baby cylindrical. Sylvan makes them, and they make them in brass. So I wanted a tank hopper. So I came up with one day at work that if I would take a solid block of something, cut the sides, cut the bottom, I could make a solid clump of a car. Actually, let's go to I got pictures of this thing.
Buckle up, section crew, because this is the definition of modeling here. This is
absolutely insane the way he built this car. Honest to God.
Yeah.
Can you see the pictures of it?
Yeah.
For the top left, it's a solid block that I put the profile on, chop the up and down, and then I turn the side and I cut the profile of it. Built the roof and then built the end cage. So it's a solid block of foam, or urethane foam. It's a denser foam, but yeah.
Yeah. So basically, you made a rail car out of a block of foam.
Here's the scraps. Yeah, so I cut the bays off the bottom of it. Cut the side profile off of it. Cut the bottom bays off of it.
Your supply is starting to get low.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is unreal.
Yeah. Any other fun projects you want to see?
No, I think this. Unless Tag calls one out, that's pretty fantastic. It's, I guess, series of picture of taking the picture and turning it into a real model. So, I guess then, Luke, we've seen a lot, and I wanted to give you the last comment tonight. So, if you were to give some advice to someone who really wants to model a railroad and do it, as we all say, prototypically, what bit of advice would you give someone who's just getting into prototype model railroading?
Go off of pictures.
I don't have room for him to point until that
Switch
Yeah.
back. Okay, we're back on that camera now. Can we hear me good? Nice.
Yeah, I'll bring you back to the bench.
Can I just log out of this one?
Yeah, there you go. We're back.
Oh, I'm muted. Hold on.
I got you, Luke. I got you.
Okay, had my volume turned down so it wouldn't feedback on.
Yeah.
Look at pictures and just why does it not look like the picture? That's one of the biggest things. You can. Another thing I know is we're looking at pictures. How jaded, especially in my era in the 70s, film was expensive, processing was expensive. How jaded is your history based on your pictures? Just because every picture has an F unit in it doesn't mean that every train had an F unit. They were taking pictures of the last F units. That's one thing I try to keep in mind when I'm looking at references and stuff like that. Don't be afraid to break stuff. I mean, don't be afraid to. You can't be afraid. Mike Shanky, I think, is a great example of this. You can't be afraid to mess something up. I mean,
Right.
It's just a model. I mean, it's not.
It's just plastic at the end of the day, right?
When lopping into these things, if I got to chop a nose, what's my plan B if I screw it up? I mean, if I chop the whole front end off, can I glue another front end onto the thing? As long as you can kind of come up with a different plan B if your plan A doesn't work, gives you a bit more comfort of how to tackle into something. But with Mike Shaky doing stuff, when it didn't work out, why didn't it work out, and what did you learn from it not working out? And when you're done with it, can you do it better next time? I mean, that's my biggest thing. Going through tech school, all our projects were graded. I mean, and they came at you hard with anything. Like acrylic stuff, when you cut acrylic and polish the edge, I mean, if that thing wasn't like near perfect smooth edge on it, if there was tool marks in that thing, you would just get picked apart and throw it back in your face. I mean, I guess I'm used to the critiquing, and that's why maybe I'm harsh sometimes when I critique other people's models, but I guess.
But
that's why he was always asking me for my opinion on stuff.
Yeah.
I'm going to give him the raw answer. So
well, I like Tag's opinion too, because you ask someone, how does this look on the layout? What should I do with this? And everybody gives you the sugar-coated answer of what they think you want to hear and what's the nice answer to it. And then there's Tag's opinion. And that in between all those answers, you get what the answer that you should be getting.
I mean, I'm not afraid to tell Luke that I don't like the way that looks. I think this looks too beefy. This looks too thin. What if this color looks a little off? Yeah. Something doesn't look right about it.
Why doesn't it look right?
Why doesn't it look right?
Critique yourself of why this is not.
Yeah. I think every modeler should have somebody that's like that in their world, because it helps them kind of be centered, so to speak.
Yeah. I mean,
it's a public service performance.
Like Poulter's here, he had an overpass he was doing, and I'm like, that top runner looked a little dainty. Maybe you should beef that up a little bit. I mean, it's just you don't want to bash everybody's stuff down, but
no.
If they're genuinely looking to improve, right, and they ask you, what could I do better?
How can you do better with anything like that? I mean,
right. No, it was I think it's a good point that you need to surround yourself with some people that'll give you the honest truth at times.
Airbrushing. I am not good at airbrushing. I have really learned how to limit my mistakes. And I think that's the way I look at it. None of my stuff turns out great, but at each time you kind of learn what not to do to not screw it up this time. And each time you do that, you get a little better with it. You're not great, but you're not screwing up as much.
Yeah.
Right.
And that, I guess that's the whole goal of stuff. What, how can I not completely mess this project up this time?
Yep. And and just that improving 1%, getting 1% better each time you pick up the airbrush or pick up the X-Acto. You're not gonna, you're not gonna, knock it out of the park on the first try. It's gonna take practice. It's like you guys can't see it, but I did some switch stands on my layout in front of us here, and they're the Lines West 3D print ones. I got 4 switch stands now. I've ruined 3 of them where I've actually just smashed the 3D print. They're in the garbage can. I'm on the 5th time attempt of trying to get them to operate correctly. So it's just it's a whole process. I went into it knowing full well I wasn't going to get it on the first try. But,
and that's how you get better at it.
Right.
You got to mess it up. How many people have airbrushes that are still in the box, Mike Shanky, that have to?
Yeah, exactly, Mike Shanky.
He's got an airbrush that's in the box?
Yeah.
Take the thing out, put water in it, and spray water through it. And just play with the thing. Get some paint and just spray anything through it. Yeah, you can't be afraid. I mean, that's the biggest thing that I know. See, you're not going to get better if you don't even try the first time.
Yeah. Yep. And that's what, it's what you got to do is just get off the stick. And, I got a bunch of like this. This is a well car. I don't do intermodal at all on my layout, but it was broken at the Model Railroad Club. I'm like, is anyone going to use this? So this is going to be me practicing fading with an airbrush on a piece of junk.
Yeah.
And so
exactly.
And that's how I'm going to get better. And like, you hear people saying, oh, just go get like a $2-3 car. Go get a $2-3 car. Go get some junk.
Yeah.
And practice on it.
And you're not afraid to mess it up. Same with cutting it. I used to cut stuff up. I was known as Hacksaw Jim for a while I had my own short line.
Oh, do you got one of those laying around? I think it's in one of the drawers. It's in one of the drawers in that.
So
if I remember right.
Tee us up here, Mike. What are we getting into?
Okay, so while he's looking for it, he had a quote unquote short line. So he took the term short line and basically took it to its literal terminology. It's short and it will run on a rail line. and that is
I got a picture somewhere. I know I got a picture.
It's like an F unit cab with the back of the F unit right there.
Oh yeah.
And it was 2 of them back to back, and I had also the passenger cars, I had a bunch of freight cars.
Little critters.
When you do a tank car, you gotta learn how to chop the ends off and cut the dome out. And they're like Tyco tank cars, but you just start learning how to chop. I mean, yeah.
That's the short line of the show.
Yeah. That if we had it, that would be the short line of the show. Yeah.
That would be the short line of the show.
I'll find it. I'll post it on the group if I can find it.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
It's probably in my group somewhere. If you search short line, I bet you I posted something in there somewhere.
Yeah. So speaking of which, you're on Facebook then, Luke. You have a nice group out there called Soo Second Sub.
Yep, SOO2ND SUB, all 9 characters. YouTube, Flickr, Facebook. Yeah.
So I'll bring it up real quick, just so you guys can see. Luke does a lot of his modeling exploits there, and some fantastic stuff that goes on there. That's for sure.
Looks great.
And just some really good stuff that's going on Luke's Facebook group. Shares a lot of stuff, has a lot of good conversation with modelers.
It's a great tool, is what I found.
Absolutely is.
I like to bounce ideas off of people, and a lot of people will.
That was cool right there. The overpass scene with the Fairmont. That's a good idea. That was cool.
But there's people in Australia following me, and it's like if I'm up at 2 a.m. working on something, I can post something. What do you think of this? Does this look better with 2 tanks or 3 tanks? Someone's up and will give me an opinion within minutes. And it's just a neat. I think it's a neat tool. Reference photos. I'll put reference photos of what I'm working on in here.
Yep.
And I use the search function on it all the time. I'm constantly going back to search, Van Dyne and stuff like that. There's just
Franken grinder.
Franken grinder. You go in there and you just search keywords. So a lot of times when I'll post something, I'll post some type of keyword right away into the thing.
Yeah. Well, that's good stuff. So I do want to kick it off here to the section crew. Let's get the last questions coming in here real quick, and we'll get them up on the board. But Mike, I did want to kick it over to you for the awkward part of the evening. Is there anything else that we left in the bag, or do we need to have a part 2 with Luke?
Not right yet. I don't know. I'm trying to think. I think we pretty much nailed quite a bit of it. I mean, we could have dove deeper into like operations and things like that, but that could be for a whole different segment type of deal or a whole different topic type of deal. But for the most part, Luke, honest to God, even though you and I are friends, it's truly has been an honor all these years, 25 flipping years, which I can't believe, to actually be a part of your layout and to see the progress that it's gone from those first Remington, the 22 gun nailer thing going into the concrete wall, all the way from those, all the way to what it is, tearing things apart, putting them back together, hearing the very first ever, what was that?
Yeah.
Luke?
Yeah.
from our buddy Dave Baucus, when part of the train went on, met its concrete demise, and it's really the layout continues to grow, even though it looks like it's in a semi-finished state. There are things that have to be done on this layout, knowing from personal experience, is that need to be redone just because technology has gotten better. And that is that's kind of, maybe in my opinion, that's one of the next major steps is taking, but that is a grandiose undertaking.
Well, the layout's 26 years old. I think it held up
damn good, really well.
Design wise and everything. The list of things I would do differently is minimal. And I guess I feel very fortunate for the layout. I mean, there's a staging, the Manitowoc stuff. Big climbs aren't bad. Tight radiuses aren't bad. Big climbs and tight radiuses are bad.
It's an 18. It's an 18-inch radius. Or is that?
I'm running a 12-car train off to the Manitowoc stuff. Yeah, it's 18. Crank it off.
With 4-axle power. It's fine.
But then it goes down like 12 inches in like 6 feet. I mean, it's
so it's like this.
It's like, well, it's fine until you try to pull 14 or 15 cars back up out of Manitowoc.
Or something derails back there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, honestly, it's been an honor being a part of it. Thank you very much from the bottom of my heart for doing this and showing everybody this and kicking off the prototype. What?
You got a yard named after yourself.
I do. We actually saw it. I can't believe I forgot to even mention it. The part under Nelson's, that lift out part, that's called the tag yard.
Yeah. There's Stevens Point's the main line went down the middle and you had an A side and a B side. So I had like 1 yard kind of planned in the workshop half. And I'm like, what if I put stuff under Nelson's? And the things like, put it over there. That'd be the arrival A side of the yard. So you have the tag yard and then the B side, the B yard.
So I think this is a good question to close on. Roger Moses says, any other railroads not in the area that intrigue you that you'd model? Or if you couldn't do the Soo, what would you model?
Well, the BN always kind of intrigued me. Conrail always kind of intrigued me. I think I would still do a bigger, not UP Transcon kind of stuff, but bigger. I mean, I always like mainline run. I wanted some feel like you went somewhere. I mean, that's switching is nice, but I guess I even in my career path, I've always hugged to the road trains more than the yard assignments and the local assignments. I got no problem doing them, but it's like I'd rather be on the road.
Yeah.
I guess that seems to emulate in the modeling, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, BN's always intrigued me too, and Conrail. I don't know why. There's something about them. They just
Northwestern's neat. I've dabbled in it with the CNW modeling on that side of it, but that was always kind of my first little love was Northwestern. But same thing with the Soo Line. Growing up in the 80s or whatever, there was no Northwestern models out there. Same way there was no Soo Line models out there. You wanted to do anything, it was all cut and hack and paint yourself.
That's right.
So
that's absolutely right.
And with the Soo Line, there was a lot of that for years. I mean, nobody made anything painted Soo Line besides a wide body Athearn 35. I mean,
the Jeep 35. That's wide.
Yeah, with dynamics. That Soo didn't have dynamics on. It's like
right. Yeah.
You just if you wanted to do it, you had to do something to. That's why I enamored to Bob Brevard so much. It's like you want to do a U-boat. U-boats are wide body. Bob took the thing to a bandsaw and zipped it right down the middle. I made a narrow body out of an Athearn. It's like there's a Rail Model Journal one for a covered hopper. It was like a low hip side. Bob took an Athearn covered hopper and cut the entire side out of it and re-ribbed the entire car. Basically, completely rebuilt an Athearn. It's like this guy is doing this stuff. I mean, it's not. This isn't no little. Let's just file this off. This was completely drastic stuff to make accurate Soo Line models, and you can't be afraid. It just goes back to it. You can't be afraid to dabble into it.
That's true. Speaking of Bob Brevard, Bob's going to be on our next show on the 23rd. William Sampson and Bob Brevard are going to be joining us. So that's going to be a great show. It's Soo back to the January Soo month here at the second section. And Mike's loving every minute of it.
Yeah. I'm surprised you're not crawling onto your skin talking about Soo Line stuff.
Yeah.
I've been behaving. I've been
whatever.
behaving.
You love his layout and everything about it.
I do love his layout. I do love his layout. I would love it more if there was orange and black on it, but that'd be all right. That's a different or WC. You should have a WC session is what you should do.
I know.
That's very true. But so you'll have to check us out in a couple of weeks here. We're gonna have Bob and William on, another pair of Soo Line modelers in the house. And I just want to say again, Luke, thank you for putting this on tonight. It went off amazing. The Gills cam, the Walker, the Soo second mobile, that was awesome too. So some Blair Witch. But
and thank
really
you to your son. Thanks to your son Owen and all the guys there too, and Nathan and Carter and
kids,
everybody
a lot of them grew up on the layout, so they know this thing better than me. The op sessions, I said I'm not doing nothing. You guys figure this all out. They're calling crews, they're dispatching, and these guys knock the socks off of a lot of my adult friends that come over to operate. It's like they get the layout humming just fine.
Yeah, they do, and they're fun to operate with and hang out with as well. So thanks to the crew there at the second sub as well. And just again, and Luke, thank you for all you do in the hobby as well. It's not just the models that you build, but doing the mentoring of myself, Mike Shanky, and countless others, with your Seuss and Mike
Me.
and the Seuss second sub page. So thank you very much. So
I get that comment quite a bit, that inspiration. I don't. You hear the social influencer kind of thing, and I don't try to think of myself as that, but the people that comment back to me, you realize that, them seeing what I'm doing gets them motivated to work on their stuff. It's like,
yeah,
that's part of that helps drive me to post some of the stuff. It's like, oh.
No, and then it's exactly right, because it's just seeing this is like, dang it, I got to get that DRS 1500 going on. But I still sit in the box here that I'm just looking at. I'm going, yeah, I can do it. I know I can.
Yeah.
I need to get it done.
Can't be afraid. You got to take it out.
Yeah. So, anyways, Luke, I just want to again thank you from the bottom of the second section heart here. This has been a fantastic show. Make sure you catch Luke out on the social media as well, on Facebook and on YouTube. He's out there as well. And any closing thoughts before we tie down for tonight, Luke?
No, yeah, just follow the Soo second sub on Facebook. Just there's a couple questions to answer. Just let me know you saw it here and stuff. So
yeah, outstanding. Well, thank you guys, and thank you section crew. Oh, one last one here from Paul Kassar. What's the Facebook group? I think I have it in the show notes. So you should be able to get that from the description on the live stream tonight. So, all right, gang. So I guess we'll sign off from the second sub, and we'll see you guys again in 2 weeks. Good night, everyone.
night.
Night.
Oops.